Hi, welcome back guys. This is your friend, Cabbage Head Fanfics. Back with amazing fanfiction. This is the series of What If Deku Became the Youngest N7 Soldier? Now before starting, please give this video a like and subscribe to the channel if you want more videos like this. Now let's get into the fanfic. You think no way? There could still be regardless we must. Are you insane? Trying to unfreeze him would. He's starting to open his eyes. Jesus, it actually worked. Heart rate is damn it, I need a defibrillator now. White walls were the first thing Izuku Midoriya saw. After that was the groggy feeling all around his body, like he just woke up from running a full marathon or something. Then the stinging sensation of light burning his eyes, letting out a hiss, he closed them back before experimentally opening them a few more times. He was in some kind of hospital, as it explained the sterile white room plus the drip and heart monitor. The next thing was the confusion on why he was in the hospital. The last thing he could remember, cold, a very, very icy cold feeling hitting him before everything went black. It was when he was going to Aldra. Looking around, he found a set of buttons near his bed and weakly reached out for them. He pushed the big red one. A few seconds later the door clicked and someone entered. An old man with a wolf's head and wearing doctor clothing entered. Ah, Izuku Midoriya, you seem to have finally awakened. Where am I? You're in the Massachusetts hospital, my boy. I didn't expect you waking up so early after defrosting process, the doctor explained. Defrosting? Ah, that is a bit difficult to explain, but best we start at the beginning. You see, Mr. Midoriya, you were hit by an ice quirk when you were going to your middle school. Under normal circumstance, the damage shouldn't be severe. However, in your case, the user of the ice quirk was under the influence of trigger. I assume you know of the drag? The doctor said. Trigger, isn't that the drag that makes quirk stronger? Izuku answered. Indeed, and on top of that the man was also overdosing on it as well, making the quirk even stronger. To simply put it, you were frozen solid in an instance, but instead of killing you, the ice seemed to have persevered your body, suspended in time. Local and national doctors tried to get you out, but at the time lacked any tools to get you out without killing yourself. Eventually you were moved to America, where we also tried to get you out. Sadly, it seemed nothing was able to get you out, and defrosting you would only kill you then save you. The best the doctors at the time could do was to preserve you until a new procedure could be found. Doctors at the time? What do you mean by that? Izuku Midoriya, until yesterday you've been frozen for 200 years. This isn't 2122, it's 2383 inch. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX now. The doctor was kind enough to leave him alone and gather his thought, plus informing him of a government agent coming to explain his situation to him. But that was the problem. He had no idea what to feel at the moment. Did he get angry? But who to be angry at? The person that was drugged, the decision to take that path to Aldra, the universe for ruining his life again? Or did he feel the crushing despair that he would never be able to see his family again? His mom and dad flashed in his mind before reality reminded him they were probably dust by now. Maybe the sudden feeling of being truly alone. It was one thing to be quirkless in a world of quirks, but now he really had no one he could rely on. Maybe an aunt or uncle, but that was stretching it. For God's sake, he wasn't even in Japan anymore but the United States of all things. Did that mean he was going back to Japan with nothing to his name, or was he going to stay in America all alone? All he could really do was wait for Agent to arrive and give him a better idea of his situation. Hours passed before he was informed that the agent had finally arrived. Izuku Midoriya, what a pleasure to meet you. Not every day you meet someone from the past. Tell me, how are you? The agent was Japanese and had black hair with plain features on his face. I'm alive, that must count for something, he glumly replied. I would image. My name's is Gabriel and I understand you have been informed of your situation? I can understand it may be hard to handle, but that is why I am here. To start with, I should explain that the last 200 years have been a great upheaval for humanity. To start with, back in 2348 mankind had launched its first permanent settlement on Mars after years of chaos on Earth. While their prospectors found something, a ruin filled with advanced cache of technology, alien technology to be exact. Aliens? Like the gray tall people with big black eyes? That widened his eyes. Aliens were not the first thing he expected. Not exactly, also we call them Protheans now. But yes, when we first found the ruins it completely changed everything as mankind's technology was propelled by hundreds of years, and with it we found a new element as well, element 0, otherwise known as Izo. An element capable of changing the mass of objects within its field and a cornerstone of modern technology. On top of that was the buildup of military in the event of hostile aliens, as well as the discovery of the mass relays. Massive machines that allowed humanity to travel to different systems using Izo. For a while humanity experienced a golden age until one day we realized we weren't the only people in the galaxy. In 2357 we meet the Turians. The agent's arms suddenly glowed with a holographic gauntlet. He smiled when he realized Izuku's attention was on it. This is an omni-tool, basically a phone, computer, fabricator, and so much more wrapped in one thing. Don't worry, we'll get you one in no time. Anyway, here it is. The agent showed a projection of a Turian. The Turian looked avian with a metallic-like carapace over it, 2 mandibles attached to his mouth, and instead of 5 fingers it had only 3. If there was a race meant to describe alien, this wouldn't be a bad choice. Apparently we were breaking some major intergalactic laws to rest of the galactic communities, and the Turians were in de facto peacekeepers. So when they saw us opening new mass relays, well, humanity was introduced to the rest of the galaxy by the end of a barrel. Basically we ended up with a war before the Asari, another member of the galactic community, stepped in, stopped it. After that we were invited in the council, the main government of the galaxy, but more like the UN, where it is made up of different species instead of nations. After the war we got some reparations and became a member of the council, but not a full member because of reasons. What reasons, you may ask? The ones to me. The agent began scroll through more members of the Citadel Council as Izuku realized just how many aliens were in the galaxy and how big it was. Afterward the agent handed him what seemed to be a simple iPad. Here, we figured you would appreciate something more classical. It has extranet connections, so take your time and look over. When you're ready, just call me. When the man left, Izuku looked down at the iPad. Turning it on, he was pleasantly surprised to see Google was still a thing. Good to know some things survived in the future. The first thing he entered was his own names as articles popped up. Each article supported the agent's claim, as he really was frozen for 200 years. There were medical journal about him and the different procedures they tried on him and theoretically wanted to. Too much of it was medical jargon that he didn't understand. A slightly more depressing note: when he decided to check the quirkless people, he was informed that the last quirkless person died 60 years ago. Great, now he was the only quirkless person left in the world. Just great. A few minutes later he typed in something else that came to mind: Bakugo Katsuki. His declarations of being the #1 hero came to mind. Not hard when every day he shouted it to the class. However, what he found instead surprised him. The Bakugo trials, Wikipedia. Clicking on the first link, he read over the files. His old childhood friend was able to get an UA, like he always said, as well, graduate from the school as one of their top students. Soon after that he began working under some top hero agencies before finally opening his own, years later rising to one of the top 10 heroes and predicted to be the next #1 in a few more years. Until a single incident. An accident with villain resulted in the deaths of a few people, and Bakugo was in charge of stopping said villain. One of the families who lost their child in accident demanded reparation, and the reply from Bakugo was inappropriate to say the least. Looking at other articles, the family had lost a daughter who was recently diagnosed as quirkless. That explained the response. Furthermore, the father of the family was a media baron and now was looking to get revenge at Bakugo. Not only did he sue Bakugo, but began a long slandering campaign, calling up contacts and looking for every piece of dirt he could find. And they pulled his past bullying. A few teachers and Aldra's nurse testified to the bullying he did to not only himself but others in the school, noting the illegal usage of quirks to discrimination against minorities. And this was after the Endeavor case that was just recently finished. Safe to say the media jumped onto his past bullying like sharks to blood. Kacchan was able to keep his hero license in the end of the trial, but with the sheer public outcry it made no difference. Not only did he have to pay a hefty sum to the family, but his hero ranking went from the top 10 to lower hundreds. The hero committee themselves had to publicly announce Kacchan would never be allowed into the top 10 nor be the top hero in Japan. His agency lost deals left and right. No one wanted to work for him as his toxic attitude and new reputation emerged. What happened afterward became harder to find out as his old friend soon vanished from the hero world, moving to rural Japan and died at the age of 70. No one attended his funeral. Leaning back on his bed, he wasn't sure what to feel. Well, no, he felt three things in him. One was sadness, knowing that Kacchan really wanted to be a hero and to be denied his dream would crush him absolutely. The second was giddiness. While Kacchan was a childhood friend, he was also his main tormentor and made sure to make his life as hellish as possible, so seeing him lose everything felt cathartic to him. The third emotion was curiosity, not to Kacchan but to the Endeavor trials and the apparent relationship the public had with the hero community. Looking around, he realized what they were saying. Back in his time, relations with heroes were starting to weaken, and with the rise of this League of Villains plus the retirement of All Might. Later on it was revealed that the MLA, Meta Liberation Army, was in fact alive and soon merged with the League to create the Paranormal Liberation Front and declared war on the heroes. The war was both bloody and costly as many lost their lives, and the government was forced to bring the military to aid the heroes. In the end they succeeded, and Tenko Shimura with his co-conspirators were sentenced to the death. However, in the end the public had lost their trust in the hero even after winning the war. On top of that was the discovery of those in charge of the MLA. The leader of the MLA was none other than the head of Japan's biggest tech and quirk support company Detonarat, and dozens of other major corporations had a part in the organization as well. Once the world learned of it, trading with Japan came a screeching halt as nobody wanted to be associated with essentially a quirk Nazi group. With that, Japan's economy fell into a slump as many were forced to be laid off. So not only did you have a populace angry at heroes, but one where a lot of people were without a job and struggling to find a way to care for themselves and their family. In time a new government was formed with a new prime minister and diet who wished to do everything in their power to remove any connection they had with the old one. New minority protection laws were made, mandatory psych evaluations for students to see if they are morally fit to be a hero. The creation and mass production of quirk destruction drugs. Eventually the new government would dissolve the hero industry for good, stating the extreme cost of making a hero compared to giving a cop a single quirk-destroying bullet. This kicked off other governments in getting their own quirk destruction serum and the slow reduction in support to the hero community. Many hero communities either died naturally over time or were dissolved by their government. The last bit of heroes finally died after the discovery of the Prothean relics on Mars. To the world, heroes were a bygone age and had no place in the modern world. Out of all things he learned today, this hurt the most. And if he was honest, he would prefer being blasted by Kacchan's quirk 1,000,000 times than this. Since he was a kid, all he ever wanted to be was a hero like All Might, and now that dream was now literal impossible. He wasn't sure what to do. Leaning back, he looked at the other articles, focusing on what happened in last hundreds of years. It took a nurse informing him that it was near the middle of the night before he realized how long he was reading, just how much he missed out during the time. The next few days for Izuku were a blur as he focused more on reading up as the doctors informed him that he should be allowed to leave in a few days. The agent also came back as well, making sure that he was alright and if he had any questions about the future. Until he asked about his situation. It took us a while, but we looked around your family tree for anyone who could take you in. Mind you that we really had to stretch that tree. The person that is taking care of you is old lady that comes from your father's side of the family. She's 120 years old but told she would be happy to take you. So have any plans now? The agent explained. Izuku chewed on an apple given to him. He was surprised that he still had family at all after all this time. He thought that war, disease, or something may have taken them. It was nice to know he still had family no matter how distant. I really don't know. In my time all I ever wanted to be was a hero like All Might, but now that is impossible. I don't have a clue, maybe a historian or something, said Izuku. I bet they'll be interested in seeing what wisdom a 200-year-old kid can give. But have you ever thought of joining the Alliance by any chance, particularly the military? Not really. I've been reading up on your time and I know that quirkless discrimination was a rough thing, that and it didn't help you were born in Asia as a minority. But things have changed and the military doesn't care if you have a quirk or not. Heck, they barely teach people how to use their quirks in combat unless it's needed. You're a smart kid, Izuku, and I think humanity would benefit having you among its defender, plus it's the fastest way to becoming a hero. A hero? Izuku asked. Yep. Did you read up on a man called David Anderson? Izuku shook his head. All right, that's fine. Basically, he is the first person to ever graduate from the N Academy as an N7, the highest rank possible. Ns themselves are the elite of the elite, the best humanity has to offer, and thousands of soldiers enter each day, but less than a fourth make past boot camp and even less after each level of N, ranging from N1 and N7. Every year only a handful of people become N7. You can actually count how many there are with both your hands, that's how many. As for Anderson, that man was known for defeating entire platoons of men, saving countless humans from alien slaver and pirates. He was the man that went into worst fights ever and came out alive. He's a symbol of hope to the soldiers of the Alliance. If you want to be a hero, save people's lives, then the Alliance is your best choice, the agent argued. Can I have some time to think it over? The boy requested. The man agreed and left the boy alone, informing him he need only to call him on his Omni tool if he wanted to know. Once the man left, he got up from his bed. The doctors informed him he could finally start walking and encouraged him to take strolls around the hospital, get his strength back. Leaving his room, the boy walked aimlessly. He thought over the agent's offer. To be a part of the military was not an option he had in mind. Even back in the past, if he could not have joined a heroics course, the next best option was working at a quirk analysis firm. Learning about quirks was a favorite pastime of his. He even had a journal filled pro heroes' quirks and how they work or what ways they could improve their usage over them. It made him happy to learn that his backpack also survived the process and his notebook was returned some time later. Still, was being a quirk analysis still a job in this day and age? It may have been the future, but people always needed others who could help understand their quirks or make support gear for them. Then again, saving people from slavers or space pirates wasn't something he had back in his time. It actually disgusted him to learn slavery was still a practice in the galaxy and that there was a whole species whose society revolved around it. How does that even happen? Regardless, there was still plenty of human colonies out there under potential threat of pirates and who knows what. But that meant he had to kill, and that made him squeamish. Sure, he saw plenty of action movies when he was younger and played shooters, but they were just that, video games, not the real deal. Could he do it? Pull the trigger and end their lives? That was why he was hesitant in joining the military, but then again there were other jobs. Maybe like a captain of a ship, the idea of driving a massive warship did sound cool to him. Maybe he could just sign up as a pilot. He fell onto the ground and hit his head on the floor. He rubbed his head when he saw a dark-skinned man offer his hand to him. Sorry about that, kid. I didn't see where I was going. You need a hand? The man asked. Why, yeah, sorry about that, mister. David Anderson at your service. Wait, you're David Anderson. Izuku was shocked. Why was a hero like him doing here? Shouldn't he be in a spaceship or somewhere more important? You know of me? Why, yeah, you're the first N7 ever and that you fought hundred slavers pirates. A real hero, said Izuku. Oh, sorry, I forgot my name is Izuku Midoriya. Midoriya, wait, aren't you that kid that got frozen? Anderson asked. You know who I am? I saw you on the news a while ago. You're a bit famous, you know, kid. It is not every day you get to meet someone from the far past, literally in this case, Anderson explained. Oh, I haven't really been checking on the news that much. You know, trying to come to terms that I've lost everything and that I am somewhere where I really shouldn't be. But outside of that I'm pretty fine, really, giving an awkward chuckle. I would image, can't say I fully understand what you're going. So what is your question anyway, kid? Said Anderson. Are you really a hero, sir? Seeing the confusion, he explained it. In my time, heroes were still a real career and it was always my dream to be a hero as well. But now that is impossible. An agent told me that I could always join the Alliance if I wanted to still be a hero. That I could save colonies from slavers and pirates. Is it true, sir? No, we soldiers are not heroes, kid. I will be the first to admit that life as a soldier can get messy if downright questionable, Anderson said bluntly. Oh, Izuku was hoping for a better answer then. But that doesn't mean you can't do good things. As a soldier, your first job is to protect the people of the Alliance and uphold its ideas no matter what. When you wear an Alliance uniform, you're telling the whole galaxy that you represent humanity and all of her people, and that you will become the guardian of mankind. Being a hero is not what we do, and personally I am not a fan of heroes, the job not the idea. I know from your time heroes are seen in a positive light, but by my time we take a more critical look on their history. To be honest, most heroes by your time cared more about fame and money than they did doing their job, which only lead to its end. But maybe that is my own bias speaking. Tell me, why did you want to be a hero anyway? Anderson explained. To help people, sir. Something that always fascinated Izuku was people's responses to his answer and the faces they made. Being with Kachin all his life, he knew that many wanted to be heroes for a myriad of things. Money and power were the top two, thanks to his childhood friend yelling it every time someone asked. He heard that some joined heroes because of expectations or upholding a legacy. To him, he wanted to be a hero like All Might. Something a lot of people forget was the reason the #1 hero chose this career. Just look up his first interviews. The man laid it all out. The only reason he became a hero was to help people in need and nothing more. To be someone people can look up to and be assured everything will be alright. Well, that and proving everyone his life they were wrong. Being diagnosed quirkless, everyone in his life told him to choose a different career, from Kachin's explosive temper to his parents gently arguing better job opportunities in America. After so long, perhaps it would right to say trying to become a hero was his way of spitting them all. It didn't matter if he was number 100 or in the top 10, as just having a license was enough to prove the whole world they were wrong. I'm quirkless, sir, and in my time people who were quirkless didn't have much in the way of a good future. All my life people told I should be realistic and that only people with strong quirks could be a hero. I wanted to prove them wrong, to show them that anyone could be a hero or anything they wanted to be if they just were willing to do what it takes, sir, he answered honestly. Anderson did not reply, opting to look at him dead in the eye. A part of him, a large part, wanted to squirm a bit. It was like he was under some kind of microscope. It wasn't until the man smirked that he relaxed. I see. Well, I can say you certainly have the guts to be in the Alliance. If you're ever interested, I won't stop you. If you ever get into end school, give me a call, kid. Oh, and about what you said. I know you can, a hero, kid. Anyone can if they were to put the time and effort. As long as you are willing to help people, you'll always be a hero. Anderson helped Izuku back into his room before leaving. It was only after he left that he realized something wet was on his check and that they were tears. XXX years later. XXX. Welcome to the Alliance Recruitment Center. How can I help you? Replied one of the servicemen stationed there. Yes, I would like to sign up for the Alliance Marines, pulling out his Omni tool and sending his papers. I see. Well, before we get started, can I have a name, please? Izuku Midoriya. You think just because you signed up for the Alliance Marine Corps makes you all tough shit. Well, you're wrong. All I see in front of me are a bunch of civvies who look like they'll faint the minute they see a Batarian's guts spill out in front of them. In the next few months we will break you bit by bit and mold you back into someone worthy of being called a Marine. Do you understand me? Sir, yes, sir. Izuku and the rest of the people in the auditorium yelled out. He watched as the sergeants lead the recruits out. It had been 3 years, 3 very long years for him. After thinking it over and the getting eventual support of his guardian, he had finally signed up for the Alliance Marine Corps. The last few years had been a little hectic as he headed back to Japan. Seeing flying shuttles and even more taller towers were a surprise, but he got over that quickly. As for his guardian, she was not a bad person. At first it was awkward, but with time the two of them developed a close relationship. It was the newfound fame that made his first year difficult. He knew that he was the last quirkless person alive and someone from the past, but he did not expect it to be that important. When he left the hospital, reporters swarmed around him as they all had questions for him. In Japan it was a little better, as his neighbors were only a bit curious but respected his desire to be left alone. The agent from before arrived every week and brought tutors to help him get up to modern-day standard of education. Also, in the 3 years he had a long time to get ready to join the alliance. He was skinny, really skinny when he started out. At first he looked around for gyms or other rec center. The prices made Izuku blanched, and with him going back into normal school meant it may not be the best idea. After some searching he ended up doing something unorthodox. Cleaning up a beach. In his search for affordable gym he ended up resting at a pier where a foul smell made him JRK back. Looking at the source he saw piles and piles of junk and other trash littered all over. A local in the area explained this was Dagoba Beach and that for years people have been using it as a importo trash bin. The government had attempted to clean the beach but only succeeded in a limited amount. It was clear nobody wanted or couldn't clean up the beach. You needed to invest a lot of time and would get little back. Maybe it was his inner all-might fan talking, but starting his new life cleaning up a trashed beach felt right. Plus, what better way to be a hero than doing some community service? So for the next 10 months he spent his free time gather the trash and sending it to a local recycling center where he made a little bit of cash too. Slowly but surely he got stronger as muscles grew to help him gather the more larger items, and other people started to notice his work. The first person to help him about was an old truck driver who offered his car to help carry the trash away. After that was the locals thanking him or giving encouragement, plus some the elders giving food water for the work. All of it pushed him to go further, and before he knew it the entire beach was cleaned. Up in 10 months. And he had the body to show it. Before he was skinny kid with baby fat on him, and now it was all muscle and abs. He was jerked out of his inner thoughts when the bus started to move and headed off to the place where he would be staying for the next few months. Boot camp. XXX Week 1 XXX. Days passed by for Izuku as he and his class soon found themselves sitting in a classroom as a teacher entered into the room carry briefcase. After a brief introduction the man opened the case and pulled out a slightly curved rectangular box as well as other parts. Welcome to Marine School Privates. Today we will be teaching you the most basic weapon in the Alliance Armory, the sergeant called out. With a press of a button it transformed into rifle. This is the M8 Avenger, the standard rifle used by all branches in the military. It's cheap, durable, and can be modified on the spot. It can fire in a short burst or go full auto with the flick of the button. Before we start I will tell you something I tell everyone that comes in here. No matter what powerful quirk or power you have, guns kill. The rest of the class had a perplexed look. It doesn't matter what quirk you have, you could have the power to shoot lighting out of your hands or maybe superhuman strength, but when a bullet hits you it's going to hit you regardless. In 21st century if you were hit by a gun you could potentially survive depending on where you were hit. But if you were hit by a modern age gun? Say goodbye to whatever limb that got hit. One hit with a gun is enough to turn your entire arm into resembling raw hamburger meat, the sergeant explained. But sir, what about speed quirks or hardening quirks? One student asked. People don't have their quirks on 24/7 soldier. Your speed quirk means jack shit if someone shoots you and you're unaware of it. On top of that these guns have further range than their gunpowder-based counterparts, so unless your target is on guard every waking and unwaking second they will lower their guards, and when that happens, the sergeant made a finger gun and let it off. As for hardening quirks, just place an armor-piercing mod on and that will be that. The only real issue is regeneration quirks, and even then just keep pulling out bigger guns until the quirk can't take it anymore. It does not matter what quirk you have as any bloke with a gun can kill you with ease. A trained user or an army of trained men kill any quirk user with a little planning, something that our 21st and 22nd ancestors forgot, said the sergeant finished his piece. Excuse me sir, but how does the gun work? Izuku asked aloud, cutting through the silence. Excellent question. In every, and I mean every, gun is small block of metal, and each time you fire the rifle it shaves a piece no more bigger than a grain of sand, and with a little bit of Izu and physics this baby is more effective than any chemical rifle could ever be, the sergeant explained. The only real issue you all have to deal with is making sure your guns do not overheat. Because the moment they do you won't be firing anymore. The sergeant soon went over the basics and inner mechanisms of the gun, showing the class not only how to use the various functions but how to take apart and reassemble it. Soon they were taken out of the shooting range where each one of them were given an empty copy. For next 2 weeks Izuku would learn how to fire a gun as well as how to keep it well maintained at all times. XXX Week 3 XXX. So you all think that now you know how to shoot a rifle, you're ready for the next step? Any pirate or merc with a brain can use their Omni tool to fry your gun but also your shields as well. Their tech teacher explained, any grandma and their grandma knows what an Omni tool is, a multi-purpose computer that comes with advanced personal fabricators and can almost do anything you want. What people don't know is that an Omni tool can become the most dangerous weapon in any soldier's arsenal. Even more than any gun in the galaxy. With the proper programs you can fire a powerful burst of super-cooled subatomic particles and snap-freeze your enemies. Or you can lob a pack of superheated plasma, cook them alive, and so much more. In this class you will be taught how to use your Omni tool as well as recognize when your enemies will be using tech-based attack against you. Each of you will be handed a basic program into your Omni tools. In the package is a basic program every Marine should know. That is the Overload, a program that allows the user to send a powerful electric shock the enemy's weapons, causing them to overheat for a time. Learn it, memorize it, and pray that the next person doesn't recognize it, said the sergeant. XXX Week 4 XXX. In these 3 weeks all of you will be learning the basics of zero-G training, said their instructor. Their entire class had just taken a shuttle from Earth all the way to one of the Luna bases. For Izuku it was an awing sight to leave Earth for the first time. From what he heard of his other comrades, many have already left Earth at least once in their lives. But for him it was a special moment. The shuttles soon made their way to the base where they will be spending the next week at. Here they would learn how to fight and survive in zero-G in the case they need to assault a spaceship or survive in a ship that has lost life support and was quickly breaking down. They were lined up in the main room with dozens of different sized suits ready for them to pick up. The first thing all of you should know by the end of this week is not to panic when your suit gets punctured, as your suit will seal itself if you get shot. It's the second time you get shot in the same place when you start to panic. Many in the class gulped, seeing no sign of sarcasm on the instructor's face. As long as you follow our instructions to the word and don't try to do something stupid, then you won't have any issues. An hour later the instructor showed them how to put their suits on and off, making sure that they repeated until the man was satisfied. Afterward they were sent out of their base and onto the moon's surface where they saw a large obstacle course laid out. As Alliance Marines you will all need to be ready to move and fight in zero-G on the call. For today I want you to get used to moving in your suits. We have an obstacle course here that you will all be going through. I don't accept any of you to get past it on the first day. Take your time and get used to moving without and gravity, the instructor explained. However, if anything is to happen to you, we have men and women on the sides to help you, pointing to the group of other Marines. If your suit gets damaged or punctured for any reason, they will pull you out and get you back into the base. By the end of these 2 weeks I expect all of you to know how to work in zero-G but also how to maintain your suits. XXX Week 7 XXX. You are Marines, which means you work, eat, sleep, and cheat on ships. In this week we will be going over the basics on ships and how they work, explained the teacher. Izuku and his class were all in the auditorium as teacher showed them a hologram that showed a line of Alliance ships starting from smallest all the way to the largest. There are 5 classifications of ships that Alliance and Citadel species uses. First you have your corvettes. They are the smallest class of ships, usually around 100 meters in length. Their purpose is light reconnaissance and provide light fire support for flotillas. Next you have your frigates. These are larger than corvettes and partially make up the bulk of the Alliance fleet. They serve a similar role to corvettes but more so on the reconnaissance side. The reason for this is that seigneurs, unlike ships and certain types of communications, are limited to the speed of light. Meaning if some ship is 1 light year away, no one is going to find out for a long time, which means that attackers will always have the surprise over defenders. Frigates sacrifice armor and weapons for speed and maneuverability. Doctrine explains that frigates are arranged in tight packs that surround a fleet, watching for any ships and buying the fleet time to respond. The projector focused on the next larger ship. Now this is where the real firepower comes. Cruisers are the bulk of any fleet and can come in different shapes or forms. Not as fast as a frigate but not as squishy either. They have enough firepower to destroy any ship below them and nearly an entire city with 1 round. Cruisers tend to be in charge of flotillas of frigates and patrol Alliance space. They are the limit in what type of ship is allowed to orbital bombard a garden world, and anything bigger will violate the Treaty of Phyrexian. The projector moved to the two largest ships left. And finally we come to the two largest ship type, carriers and dreadnoughts. Dreadnoughts are by far the most destructive ship class to ever exist. With a length between 800 meters to 1,000 meters and a main gun running along its body, this ship has enough firepower to annihilate anything in its path. If you see one of these ships, then know that the situation has gone foobar and war is real possibility, or we are in one. As for carriers, they do not carry any main gun, instead opting for multiple fighter bays, each holding hundreds of fighters, stronger armor, and tougher shields. Unlike the dreadnought, there are no limits in how many can be built. This of course brings up a very important piece of law, the Treaty of Phyrexian. Created by the Solarians and Asari during the early days of the Citadel to limit the creation of dreadnoughts. It was created in hopes to limit the usage of these weapons and push future members to look for more peaceful solutions instead. The original limit was a 4-to-2 ratio, with member species being able to create 4 dreadnoughts and associate members creating 2 for every 4 made. However, that changed when the Krogan rebellions occurred. After the rebellions, the Turians were granted a seat on the council as well as becoming the de facto military arm of the Citadel. For this they changed the ratio to 5-to-3-to-1. For every 5 dreadnoughts the Turians make the Asari, and Solarians can make 3, and everyone gets 1. Breaking this rule can force the guilty nation to either pay heavy fines to Citadel and forces the Citadel to make routine inspections to avoid another incident. Sir, does the treaty make any rules about how long ships can be? One of the people asked. Indeed it does. The hard limit is 2 kilometers long, but in reality no one ever builds them that large. The largest ship, the Destiny Ascension, is only 1.8 kilometers long, and there has never been another like her, the instructor replied. Is there any reason, sir? Izuku asked. Economics. It already cost billions of credits to make one dreadnought 1 kilometer long, and it takes millions more to keep active. You need Izu, rare metals, and slew of other supplies to keep it running. We can make a 2 kilometers long ship, but it will be the biggest waste of taxpayer dollars, the instructor replied. Now, if we don't have any more questions, we can begin with the most important part of combat and something all members of the Navy need to know. Heat is the killer of battles. Izuku and the rest of his class looked perplexed. When your ship fires its gun or someone turns on the lights, it always generates heat. In atmosphere, that isn't an issue as much as the heat created is dissipated quickly. In space, it's a whole other issue. Since there is no atmosphere, heat tends to dissipate slowly, meaning it is a whole lot easier to turn a ship into a makeshift oven. To get rid of the issue, ships need to vent heat through radiators. The red lines you see on our ship? That's the radiators. Problem is that when in combat their effectiveness drops and battles turn into endurance rounds. What matters is how long you can last before you need to book it. That is what battles are and why they rarely last for so long, the instructor explained. Now if you turn to page 82, we can start with XXX. A few weeks later, XXX. What are you doing, Izuku? His roommate asked above him. Filling out a form, Izuku answered as he finished up the last of his digital paperwork. It has been weeks since he had entered into boot camp, and he had learned a lot about the Alliance as well, new skills to help him out. To be honest, when he first started out, he feared that people would treat him differently due to his quirkless nature. But his fears were wrong. No one cared, and not once they did ask for their quirks or teach them how to use it. Another difference from his time. Teaching kids to utilize their quirks at a young control had become a crime, with many claiming it to be one step away from child soldiers. Sure, they taught kids how to control their quirks and not lose control, but actually teaching them to use for combat became illegal. Now most people who learned to use their quirk for combat purpose were military personnel. Plus, having constant access to quirk suppressants and quirk destruction weapons greatly diminished their overall effectiveness. So where are you going to go after this? I heard that Michael and Pablo were thinking of going into quirk combat class. Personally, I want to go into combat specialist camp. You thinking of going to combat engineering school? I seen you use your Omni tool. I bet you will be a great fit in there, his bunkmate offered. Well, combat engineer is my fallback plan. I'm trying to apply for N school, he answered. His bunkmate nearly fell off his bed as wide eyes stared back. End school? You got to be crazy, Midoriya. There is no way they will take a new recruit right away. I heard you need at least 5 years of experience before they even start looking at your resume. That's not the case. Anyone can apply for end school as long as they are part of the military. He read up the recruitment process beforehand and never did they request for previous experience. Anyone could sign up as long they were part of the military. It was just that experienced soldiers and officers signed up at all. But why would take a new guy that just came out of boot camp? Look, I'm not saying that you can't join, but everyone else joining is going to be way more experienced than you are and probably more likely to get accepted. Plus, that training would destroy you. Thousands of people join daily, but only 100 ever make it through screening and the first week. He wasn't wrong. End school was notoriously known for its brutal training and high standards it demands from its recruits. The first week alone has kicked more people out than any other branch of the military. And it only got worse as you climbed up the ranks. The very best of graduates, the N7s, could be counted with your fingers alone. People didn't look down on those that failed either. It was an honor to be even accepted at all, and many who failed tended to go on achieving higher ranks in different branches of the military. So as long as he made it in, he could almost be assured getting any other position in whatever field he choose. But that wasn't his goal. Trust me when I say I think I can get in. I think I know someone who can help me there. He didn't explain anymore, not matter how much his bunkmate bugged him. After a while he left the barracks and watched as the sun was just starting to set. Opening his Omni tool, he scrolled down his contacts list and found the person he wanted. A few seconds passed before he heard a very familiar voice. David Anderson speaking. Do you know what time it is? The man groaned. He could hear the shuffling of blankets. Hey Anderson, it's me, Izuku Midoriya. We meet before. You're the kid that got frozen. I did not know you got my number. The man snapped his finger. He thought their first meeting would be the last time he saw the kid. I asked my agent to get your number. I've been thinking about what you said for a long time, and I've recently joined the Alliance Marines. I will be graduating in a few days, said Izuku. That's great to hear, son. Is that all you called me for? No, there was something else too. I'm applying to end school and I wanted your help into getting there, he explained. And you're going to be applying right out boot camp? Son, I don't want to be harsh, but maybe you should come back when you're a little bit more experienced. End school is harsh, and even I struggled to get through it. Most people don't make it out the first week. Trust me, I know, Anderson, but I need this. I've been training for this moment for 3 years. Besides, I remember you telling me to call you if I ever make into the Alliance, said Izuku. Even I forgot about that. Are you sure you want to do this? There's no going back if you agree. I am sure. I'll make the call. XXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXXX hold on his duffel bag as the shuttle began moving away from the city and to the mountains that dotted the area. He remembered the stunned looks on his class's face when instead of taking a bus he took a shuttle that went straight to the villa, the training academy for all ends. His bunkmate's face was the best one. The villa itself he had no idea of. The exact training done was kept off civilian side of the extranet, and even looking around he found no sources. All that he knew was that they did training sceneries similar to what real-life soldiers deal with, and for what that was he had no idea. There were other people on the shuttle as well, 3 to be exact. 2 males and 1 female. The first guy had a bare head while the female had feathers around her arms. No one made small talk. Returning back to the window, he saw the shuttle take them landing pad where other shuttles were dropping off their recruits. Everyone got out when it was their turn. There were hundreds of other people were here and some were talking to each other. A air horn stopped the talking as everyone turned to see a armored man standing on scaffolding with 2 guards on each side. They had the N6 emblem on their armor. Welcome recruits to the villa. My name is Sergeant Lopez and I am the man in charge of making you all into something useful for the Alliance or get you out of here before you embarrass us to the rest of the galaxy. You must think yourself as special since you got here. Well, you're wrong. Just because you look good on paper means jack shit to me. You aren't good until I say you're good, and if you have a problem there's a dirt trail you can take. You all must be thinking, where do we start our training, Sergeant? And I'm here to say your first job is to get to the villa, the man pulled out M8 Avenger and shot one of recruits. As the bullet hit, a part of him was enveloped by a glowing orange light. 5 shots, that is how many rounds are needed to put a persona down for good if your aim is sheet. If any of you get more than 5 rounds, then you're automatically kicked out. Your objective is to follow this trail in front of me to the villa, get to it before the night, and then your real training starts. Just know that none of us will be playing nice, Sergeant Lopez. Well, what are you waiting for? Move. And Izuku did. No matter what they threw at him, he will become AN7. Are you sure about this? If the people learn we did this and it turns out to be wrong, they will be angry, said one voice. And if it is true and that we did nothing, the people would be stirred into a mob, a second voice reply. Fine, the first barked out. So who should we send? If we send an entire battalion or a fleet, no matter how small the battalions may get spook. Our ends will be good. Enough. Small enough for us to insert into the Verge colonies, but not too much of a threat that will cause people to worry. We can write it up as us sending our N6 real-life experience. If what we've discovered is true, they can notify us and we can bring the fleet in, the second voice explained. The second person sent something to the first's Omnitool. I've compiled a list of N6 units we can send to the colonies, well, most of them at least. There is one colony that I have been unsure of. Eligium, a garden world in the Skyllian Verge and one of the more well-defended colony due how close it was to Batarian space. I am thinking of sending a certain N6 agent, but I'm not fully sure, said the first. Who is it? Izuku Midoriya, said the second. Isn't that Anderson's student? The kid that got into N school right out of boot camp. The first person had heard of the boy. The kid frozen in time and the last quirkless person alive. The only reason he was accepted was through Anderson's own recommendation, and the kid proved it in spades. The man has steady climbed the ladder and achieved the rank of N6 in a few short years. At the rate he was going, he was looking to be the youngest N7 ever. I can see why you would want to choose him. The man is skilled, knows how to fight, and is one hell of a combat engineer. I don't see the problem of choosing him, first said. He's good, but he only just got his N6 rank. Sending him right away seems risky, and I don't want to tell Anderson why his student died on our hands, said second. And you're forgetting that kid got trained by the best N7 in the entire alliance. Trust me when I say he is ready for this. Anderson wouldn't half but his training, assured the first. Fine, I'll make the call. XXX Eligium XXX. Eligium, the crown jewel of the Verge. That was what his dossier said about the planet, and so far it wasn't wrong yet. It reminded him a lot of Earth with its large mountains, clear blue skies, and green grass. Getting off the transport ship, there were a few tram lines ready to take everyone into the massive city nearby. Not a bad place for forced shore leave if he said so himself. Rubbing his growing stubble reminded him that he needed to get a shave too. The last shave he had was a month ago. Since then he was stationed on the cruiser Iowa and the little chase they had to deal with. A team of smugglers had been bringing in red sand and they were tasked with shutting down their factories. Problem was that the smugglers were separating the drag-to-base component before combining them all at sail. The crew was forced to slowly go through a slew of paperwork to make sure what they were hitting was actually illegal, and fun fact, a lot of components for the drag were very legal in Alliance space. The job was not hard, just extremely tedious, and more than one Marine was begging to shot the drag dealers as they headed for court, and then a very long time in a prison barge. It was rather odd for Izuku to learn that he was reassigned to Eligium as well, forced to take shore leave. He hadn't done anything worth it to his knowledge, but orders were orders. One grav train later and he found himself staying at a local hotel for the time. Everything was already prepared for him. He decided to go to local Japanese restaurant he saw on the way here. Taking a seat outside, he started to think all that happened. For one, he finally got his N6 rank, meaning he soon would be assigned to real combat scenario soon. To think he and 75 other people survived the first day at the villa, and that was out of hundreds of the people. He was 2 shots away when he fell onto the finish line. The last few years were agonizing to say the least. Being under constant stress and shoved into combat scenario to combat scenario nonstop pushed him to his limits. But that wasn't taking in his specialist training. All N students were to choose a specialist branch they want to focus on, whether it was focusing on combat abilities or tech abilities and so on. For him, he chose to focus on combat engineer. Ever since he got his Omni tool, he has been experimenting with it in his free time. In his time, people would have killed for something so universal as an Omni tool, and with it being so common to the point everyone had one. For Ns, they received specials variants that came with advanced combat packages. It grueling and harsh work, but he earned everything he had. XXXXXXXXX. Ilanos Haliot enjoyed 3 things in life. 1. Money. Whoever said that money couldn't but happiness was a fool, and anyone that believed it was fresh meat for him. 2. Power. There was a certain satisfaction of seeing people do what you tell them to do. 3. Stability. He may have been a bad Turian, but he was a Turian nonetheless, and he enjoyed order as anyone else. Something that the Alliance was not understanding. Before, he gave little care for these humans, so what if they gave a bloody nose to the hierarchy? He stopped caring about them a long time ago. No, it was when the Alliance decided to barge into the Attican Traverse with no respect to the local powers already there. The Terminus system already claimed this space as theirs, and the Batarians have always respected that. Now, if the Alliance had gone through proper channels and worked with them, this issue would never have happened. That was not the case here. Haliot, we will be approaching Eligium in a few hours. Blood Pack, Nocturne Waves, Combine Incorporated have kept their promises to bring us ships and aid. His LT spoke. A beautiful but very deadly Asari. That was good news indeed. The more soldiers they could bring, the better this will work. He was not stupid to think he could last a war with the Alliance as a whole. No sane warlord would. But careful surgical strikes was doable. Eligium was a crown jewel for the Alliance, something that they boast to the other species. Attacking such a colony would reel back any effort in the area. But that was his part of the mission. The Batarians, on the other hand, would be attack dozens of fringe colonies, hoping to gather as much slaves as possible. He may accept their funding, but it always perplexed him with their constant attempt to support slavery. Not that he cared, mind you, as slavery was a very lucrative business. But with such a population and the nature of their government, they could have simply enforced mass breeding among the slaves to limit cost as well, anger from the Citadel, or maybe switch over to an automated workforce. Looking at his screen, his plan of attack was rather simple if taken from humans. A blitzkrieg, as the humans say, sending a massive and overpowering force against the enemy for a swift victory. That was the pillar that this attack would revolve on. Using the given funds, he had amassed a massive ground and naval force and divided them among his top commanders. He also called in some favors he had with the Shadow Brokers people to gain access to the Alliance's communication protocols. His men had created a nasty piece of software that will prevent anything from leaving the system's comm buoys. It won't last long, but it was enough for his goals. Their fleet was small and too weak to put up a fight with the majority of the fleet sitting in major relay points to their home system. The Alliance had a good defense, but it was hardly suited for pirate attacks. Once his fleet smashed through, it was important that they take the local spaceports and allow the mechanized division to land. After that, it was launching his forces across the cities, cause as much destruction as possible, and capture a few slaves along the way. The Alliance would learn not to mess with Terminus system and become humbled, while his backers would gain the satisfaction of dealing a blow to the humans. Yes, everything was going exactly as planned. XXXXXXXXXXXX. How's shore leave treating you, kid? Hope you didn't get too soft, Anderson spoke to his protege. It's been less than a day, you know. Besides, it will only be a few days. Better take every advantage I have, Izuku replied back. I hope you so. Heard that you finally became an N6, congratulations Midoriya. At the rate you are going, you may just become an N7 like you said. God, I still remember seeing you for the second time. You weren't scrawny, but you were caked in mud and sweat. Yeah, not a great time to reintroduce yourself. His team had just finished a training simulation from the jungles in Burma when it was monsoon season. It was meant to simulate the planets that the Hanar tended to colonize due to their aquatic nature. Why the Alliance would send soldiers to the Hanar colonies was more on the political side. But safe to say, if it wasn't for a team member having an aquatic mutations quirk, they would have all been dead. After meeting Anderson the second time in person, the man watched him from afar, noting his training and how he was faring. Anderson was not fully sure at the time if allowing Midoriya into N school was a good idea and wanted to personally see if he was worth the effort. And the boy did not disappoint. There were moments he lagged or struggled to catch up with his quirk peers. But with sheer stubbornness he endured and thrived where others fell. Thank you, Anderson. Hopefully I can reach N7 in a month and break your records. Don't get too cheeky, son. There's still a big gap between N6 and N7. You haven't gone through the same live fire yet, hopefully not soon with everything that is happening. You think we're going to war? Who knows, with the Batarians leaving the Citadel and recent rumblings in the Terminus system, it could be anything. But my gut is saying otherwise. You don't live long in this field without developing a sixth sense for trouble. Just re-sa Dory the screen started fuzzing before turning into static. Anderson? Anderson, do you read me? Trying different frequencies did nothing. He tried contacting local IT support with no avail. Other region networks weren't responding, even trying to contact the local garrison got static. Getting up, he saw outside people chatting and pointing to the sky. Looking up, there were comets. Comets that were red hot and coming down fast. Whatever came next stopped when the building a few blocks away exploded and the ground shook from the impact. Screaming and panicking was the first response as he got up. His Omni tool appeared as large holographic scope appeared in front of his eyes. Zooming them in, he could see multiple shuttles coming to the city. An invasion during shore leave. Typing in his Omni tool, his HUD showed the location, the local garrison, and how far it was. Running outside, he yelled at everyone to either head to the local police station or garrison. A few did listen, but with mass hysteria and panic there was nothing that could be done, and he doubted anyone would have a voice enchantment quirk around. Racing between alleyways, the first shuttles landed and mercs started pouring out. The most notable being blood packs, a viscous bunch that hired only Krogan and Vorsha. He could see 6 Vorsha lead by a single Krogan, and their attention focused on the family in front of them. Both Omni tools came alive as he fired a cryoblast, as super-cooled subatomic particles slammed into the Vorsha closest to the family. As it froze, the other turned and fired at him. Before the first one pulled a trigger, an orange flash formed tech armor over him, covering and soaking up the damage. Cracks quickly began to show from the continual fire. He rushed up to them as the armor finally shattered, letting out a powerful pulse wave that knocked them all down. The benefits of tech armor. He grabbed the assault's rifle out of the nearest Vorsha's grip and fired it point blank. A quick tap and his tech armor reappeared. Looking at the gun, it was AM-15 Vindicator, a powerful 5-round burst rifle very popular with elite mercenaries and high-end organizations. And something the Blood Pack would never buy. Their mode of operation were horde tactics used during the Krogan rebellions. They preferred cheap and durable equipment over quality. If you had the numbers, did it matter what quality your guns were in? Regardless, he gunned down 3 more Vorsha and fired the rest of the magazine into the Krogan before ducking into cover. He could hear the Krogan yell at the remaining Vorsha. It may have not been in a blood rage, but it was still angry enough to focus on him and not the family. Once the gun gave a green light, he turned around fire into the remaining Vorsha as they fell to the ground. A cryoblast froze the Krogan in place. He activated Incinerate as a packet Omnigel was superheated into plasma and flung at him, shatter the body. Are you okay? Did they hurt you by any chance? Running over to the family. No, sir, thank you for saving us, said the father. Just doing my job. Do you know where the nearest police station is? The father nodded. Good, take your family and stay there, or go the Alliance garrison if you think you can make it. Don't make a lot of noise and stay quiet. Vorsha rely more on their hearing than sight, and Krogan will be staying back most of the time. With that, the family bolted as he prayed they would make to safety as he returned to his destination. An hour later, and he was introduced to the site of the garrison under attack by more mercenary forces. Hiding behind the larger rubble, he was shocked to see a Demon Mako of all things firing its cannon at the building. The walls may be reinforced and made with military-grade material, but constant fire like that would whittle it down within a few minutes. Lowering the brightness, his Omni tool, he waved it at the Mako as the mercs were more focused on breaking into the garrison. A few seconds later, it showed a scan of the vehicle. It was standard make but was lagging in Cyber Warfare Suite, as just being able to scan it was proof. Looking at the designs, he saw that cannon and turret mechanism could be switched between remote control and manual and could be locked in. The controls the Mako were still manual, but he could shut off the generator. The weapons ran on their own power supply. A fine seconds later, the cannon swirled to the side and fired onto its allies as they called out in horror. The turret finished off the soldiers as one of the men in the Mako got out and tried to figure out what was going wrong. A single burst from him left the man slumped over and lacking a head. Everyone else in the garrison, seeing this, did not waste time and laid fire on the disorganized enemies. The mercs, seeing their numbers whittling and their main weapon turned against them, fled as some made it, but many others were shot before they made it. Coming out of cover, the other guards turned their attention to Izuku as he lowered his gun. "Halt! You the guy that turned their Mako against them?" one of the guards asked. "Izuku Midoriya, N6. Some of the Marines looked surprised as others had a hopeful look. He sent his credentials to the man in front of him. "Well, sheet, all right then, come in." The men parted ways and opened the door for him. "Things have gone hell in a handbasket. Communication with the other garrisons have gone silent, and with all the mercs flying in, we can't organize a full retreat. The general will want to hear about you. Let me take you to him." XXX Eligium Garrison XXX. "You're the first good news in the last hour," the general stationed in Eligium spoke. A dark-skinned woman with 2 fox ears on top of her. "Can you give me a sit-rep of the situation? Outside of seeing our ships fall out of the sky, has anything else happened?" Izuku asked. "We are assuming the fleet as a whole is gone right now. Communications have fallen, as you can see. All attempts in contacting the other garrisons dotted around the planet have met failure. Our techs are saying alliance protocols may have been breached. It would explain how the mercs are being able to find where we send our men and forcing us to be trapped here." The general looked at him with a pleading look. "I don't assume you have a solution to this problem, but I could really use something right now." Izuku had to think on that. Even if they were able to get a message through the jamming, the enemy could potentially intercept it or make it into a garble of useless info. No, they had to go at this another way. Something that they wouldn't expect. "Wait a minute, yeah, that could actually work. I think I do have an idea, General. You're right to assume alliance communications are breached, but not mercenary communications. If we can get into the enemy's network, we could piggyback off them and send an emergency message to the alliance." The general and her men looked surprised, but after a few moments the women nodded to his idea. "Better than what we have right now. I can offer you some of my forces, and I know where you can start." She pulled out her Omni tool and showed large satellite array built in the early days of the colony, when we were still just getting access to the Citadel markets. This was used to communicate with the space station and get access to the galactic markets. Last time I checked, it was still on good condition. "I can offer you 2 of my best men to go with you," she said. "I think I'll need more than a fire team to do this," he said back. "Can't. We still need to protect this city and make sure the mercs don't get control of this spaceport. A smaller team can get in and out without drawing much security," she explained. Izuku nodded and took what she was offering. "Good, Maeli will get you all geared up. Good luck, soldier." One of the guards showed him to the armory and brought him some proper weapons and armor. In a few minutes the armor's shield generators sprung to life as he was introduced to his men. "You 2 are going with me to the satellite array. We don't have much time, so tell me your name, skill, and quirk," Izuku ordered. "Carter Lai, Marine and Quirk Combat Specialist. My quirk is emitter-based and allows me to control electricity. I can shot a deadly bolt of lighting at our enemies or create a less powerful pulse to knock out their weapons and armor," Carter introduced himself. The second Marine pulled off his helmet and showed his quirk, or in this case his bullhead, as he brandished his grenade launcher. "Lucas Santiago, Marine, and I specialize in heavy weaponry and explosives, sir. As for my quirk, it is a bull mutant variant, gives me increased strength and durability. Izuku Midoriya, N6, and I am a combat engineer. Don't have any quirk, I am a natural-born quirkless. Our job is break into the array and use it to get into the enemy's communications. Once inside, we will be sending a message to the Alliance on what is happening and get them out of our networks." "Understood." "Yes, sir," said Carter Lucas. Izuku motioned them to follow as they made their way outside where a soldier was waiting for them. "The general wanted you to have this." The soldier sent a copy of the sewers. Go down this porthole and follow the map. The sewers lead outside the city and this pathway is the closest you will get to the arrays. After that it will be a half-an-hour jog to get there. Take care and good luck, sir. Izuku and his team climbed down the porthole as they began moving, only stopping when the ground started to shake. No one said anything, but they could feel the tension in the air. If they failed their mission, it could mean the end of the colony, and for the people of Eligium that meant death or slavery. The three of them breathed a sigh of relief when they reached the end. Opening porthole, they saw familiar grassy ground and small hills. Sheet, hey, you two may want to see this, Carter gasped as the other two widened there. It was the capital of colony on fire. The city glowed orange as they saw a burst of tracer rounds fire off periodically at the incoming ships. Izuku saw that his teammates took far worse than he did. It was their home and they were watching it burn. Come on, the faster we get the message out, the faster we can save your home. That shocked the two out of their stupor. Grim determination filled them as they followed him to the array. Half an hour later they saw the array and the small enemy force there. The hell? Why are they here? Lucas gasped at the sight. We didn't use our Omni tools, everything was by mouth. Must have expected this. Using his Omni tool he zoomed in at the scene. 10 guards here, 3 on the roof, for outside, and the last 3 inside. I don't see any heavy weapons on them, all of them seem to be Eclipse of all people. Alright Carter, I need you to use your quirk and make a pulse at the guys up top. Lucas, fire at grenade launcher at the people outside at my orders. Understand? Both of them nodded. Now. Carter let loose a bolt of electricity at the mercs, and when it hit caused it to transform into pulse as their shields collapse and weapons to screech loudly. Lucas went next, firing a volley of grenades onto the enemies below who turned to the commotion above. Explosions ripped the earth as their body parts flew across them. Izuku got up as he and Carter fired on the shieldless enemies above, cutting through their armor with ease. They all raced into the control building where they saw the 3 remaining mercs panic as they saw them entering. They engaged in a brief firefight with them as Izuku ducked into cover. His Omni tool sprang to life before going over to the cryoblast power. A quick modification, he shot the attack at them as it hit the first guy, but it did not stop there. From the explosion, blue mist spread out, freezing the 2 men next to him. Their frozen bodies were shattered soon after. Looks like nobody is here, should we? A deep baritone voice barked out from somewhere. Looking around, the source came from a communicator on the desk. Raising a finger to his lips, Izuku walked over and grabbed the communicator. He hooked up his Omni tool to it as whoever was there kept barking. I repeat, Omega Team, are you there? You cut off there for a moment, hello? This better not be some kind of stupid prank again, Marbo, because if it is, I will skin you slimy hide off. Damn it, respond. He pointed to frozen Solarian corpse on the ground. Sorry sir about that, we encountered soldiers. Looks like they thought going to the arrays was a good idea. Don't worry, we took care of them. Alliance idiots, like we were going to ignore this. Do you guys need any help, or are you okay? We're fine, just a few marks on our armor. How are things at your end? Not as good as we hope. Those quirk users are slowing us down and our tanks can't get a hit on them. Too few and too fast for us. I wonder if we can capture these people, because I would pay good money for one of them. I wonder what their eyes would look like after SLV masters break them in. Not my problem, he grunted back. Yeah, alright, if that is all then I'll leave. Like I need Haliot on my butt. The voice cut off as Izuku put the device away. What was that about, Captain? Carter looked the N6. Showing his Omni tool, he replayed the call, but this time instead of his voice it was a Solarian's simple voice changer. I wasn't sure if it would work, but I guess it did after all. What really was important was what I got from the call. While I was talking to him, I had another program look at their network. Looking at their networks, they're nowhere as secure as the Alliance. So really all we have to do is this: change a few lines, throw a mutation into the code, and there we go. Going over the arrays, control the radio telescopes outside swiveled around as he put in his code. There, I sent the message to the Alliance. Now all we have to do is hold tight and hope that they got it. XXX Arcturus Station XXX. Does anyone mind explain exactly how a Terminus warlord managed to acquire our communication protocols? Admiral and Commander of the Alliance Navy Ines Lindholm growled. Ms. Akiko, perhaps you can fill in why your department did not find this. Head of the Alliance Intelligence Committee Akiko Yajima coughed into her hand. There is nothing we can really say on the subject as we are not fully sure how this happened at all. However, our analysts believe it may have been the Shadow Broker as she is the only one that can really benefit from this as I don't see the Council gaining anything from this. It could have been the Batarians. They bought Alliance protocols from the Shadow Broker and amassed the strength needed to attack us. The 7th Fleet is already on its way to help Eligium as well speak. We will be there in a few hours, said its admiral as his hologram looked at the rest. Good, the last thing we need is another mind war, folks. No replied to that. The disastrous assault was a wound no one wanted to talk about. Demon Batarians. Why are we still even letting this go? I say we should to go war and end this demon blight on the galaxy. One admiral spoke in rage, his hair lighting in flames as a result. And get the Council on us? They know the only thing stopping us going at war with them is the Council, so unless you want to fight Turian ships then go ahead, another person yelled back. Enough. We will not be going to war with the Batarians and that is final. If any data is found we send it to intelligence before letting Udina going crazy on them. But I do agree that we need to do something about this. A message perhaps. Something to warn others to not try it again, ordered Lindholm. I may have an idea, ma'am, Admiral Hackett spoke up. Torfon, a infamous moon just outside of Batarian space known be a haven for pirates and slavers. It's outside of Council reach, so we don't need to worry about them. Destroying the moon will put the hegemony back decades at minimum. We're looking at centuries of investment right out the window. That could work. It is outside of Council jurisdiction and supported by the hegemony. I would support this plan if we can chart a way to it, the 2nd Fleet Admiral said. Agreed, and we can bring our nuclear weapons since it is just a moon after all, another spoke with viscous glee. One thing at a time, people. Let us focus on getting those pirates out of our colony and then we can focus on getting revenge, Lindholm ordered. XXX Haliot XXX. Elanos Haliot. Was not a happy Turian, not even the slightest. You let them message the Alliance. The tech in front of him cried in pain as he threw him to the side, blood trailing from the marks of his talon. W didn't know until now, sir, they piggybacked off our own networks. The tech curled up in fear of further retaliation. But, as if this was proper punishment at all, no, he could not kill the idiot in front of him. He would do it after they escape and he found a replacement. Well, is it fixed? Why yes, sir, we had another team go and check it out. They found the teams there dead and no one in sight. What about our attacks on the spaceport? He could already feel the migraine forming just by looking at the fool in front of him. Not good, sir. They are making us bleed resources for every block we take and even more from repeated strikes. But we have gotten over 100,000 slaves. And that is barely enough to buy a frigate. He rubbed his faceplates as he turned to this lieutenant. Go and oversee the troops, get as many people as you can in 8 hours, after that we are leaving. Anyone who can't make will be left. And gunnery, have our frigates target the main garrison and spaceport. If they think I will let them win they have another thing coming. XXX Midoriya XXX. You think the Alliance got that message, sir? Lucas asked as they ran through the sewers. I know they won't abandon us here, Private. Plus I sent it to Anderson. If High Command has to listen to anyone it would be from the first N7 ever, Izuku assured his team. I pray so, sir. I have family here and if they become slaves, arcs of electricity bounced off his hand. If they are captured we will be getting them back, soldier. I promise you we will see them all back home one way or another, he assured them. Understood, sir. Sorry for the reaction I shouldn't have. You were worried for you family and that is nothing to be ashamed about. It's a good sign to see you care for them, cherish them as long as they live. I never got the chance in my life and I don't want to see in you, both of you, turning to Bull Quirk Man as well. Bong. The ground shook violently and they all feel as rock from above cracked and fell onto the floor. What in the hell was that? Izuku and his team's omni-tools sprang to life and hundreds of voices cried out at once. Does anyone read me? We has suffered a emergency. I repeat, cough, we need immediate help now. Fuckers fired their ships at us. Garrison is down. I repeat, main garrison is down. Who's in charge now? I repeat, does anyone know if the general is still alive or not? The spaceport is gone, people. They blew it up to. Heads up, I am seeing enemy forces moving across the bridge. Sir, what do we do now? Carter asked. I have no idea, Izuku answered. He continued to hear the panic-filled voices to continue to pour out of the radio. The general was dead, and so was the main garrison. The spaceport was also gone, and from reports the pirates were moving their forces outside of the capital, just outside the bridges and their artillery range. Sir, what do we do now? Carter asked again. That was a good question indeed. In this moment Izuku should be deferring to the next person in the line of command. However, a lot of officers were in the garrison, so now everyone was scrambling to get an idea who was next in line, and it was utter chaos. People needed a commander, and fast. Do we have any idea who survived the bombardment? Izuku ordered. The entire place was flattened, sir. I doubt anyone survived that. Some officers are declaring themselves commanders, but others are saying the opposite, Lucas replied, looking at this Omni tool in worry. They needed a leader, someone who get them all not fight each other. He looked at his men. Could they handle the responsibility? Being an N6 meant his words carried a lot of weight, and anyone he supported would get the remaining officers to fall in line. But could any of these two handle the responsibility? Sure, they were not high-ranking, but wasn't the issue, and experience could supplemented with officers. They were natives of the world and had more knowledge than he ever did on the city. Or what if they can't? They may have been the general's top soldiers, but taking command was not an easy task. It was more than just ordering people around. It meant managing a lot of things, or managing the people meant to do that, making sure everyone was able to work with each other and get as many people out alive. No, he could not do that to them. That too much he was asking from them. Could he? No, that was too far. What would everyone else think about it? There could still be officers alive, and they would be furious if he, well, that was saying if there were anything high-ranking ones left. If there weren't, that meant he was throwing the fate of the colony on some unlucky sap. Could he do it? Well, better now or never. Closing his eyes and taking a deep breath, he opened his Omni tool and spoke. This is Izuku Midoriya, N6 combat engineer stationed here. Me and my men have already sent a message to the Alliance, and hopefully the cavalry will arrive soon, but we have to hold out till then. Until then, I am taking full control unless someone has a better idea. A few seconds later someone spoke. Commander, our scouts near the bridge are reporting the pirates have formed a base near the bridges. They are bringing in armored vehicles, gunships, and tanks, sir. How many bridges connect to the capital? He asked. 3, another voice spoke up. There are 3 bridges that connect to the city. And what about our artillery? Can we move them closer? Izuku pressed. It will take too long, sir. The only thing we can move up now is our anti-air turrets missiles, said one man. Get everyone into the emergency bunkers and have all squads move to the bridges. If they think we will let them take any more people, then they are wrong. Triplets. Corporal Tom, pleasure to meet you, sir. I would offer to show you the colony, but well, looking up to the sky they saw fighter craft attacking as their anti-air guns fire in the distance. Let's focus on saving the colony first. Tell me about the bridges. How strong are they? Said Izuku. They can take artillery rounds if you are asking. Eligium occasionally has earthquakes, not the super dangerous kind if that is what you are thinking. Causes rocks to fall from the mountains into the valley below. Never in the city, but it makes creating tunnels too risky, which is why they went with bridges. Each bridge is high enough where rocks falling on them is not an issue, and when earthquakes do happen they can easily endure it. And how much artillery rounds do we have left? I'd say enough for continuous fire for 15 minutes straight. But if ration our supplies we can last for a few days, counting off his head, I'll need to double-check to be sure. The group made their way to the base camp and where they meet the remaining officers and other higher-ranking officials. After a brief round of introduction, a hologram of the city appeared as they focused on the bridges. The pirates are scared and their strategy are showing it. Before they focused on a blitz-like strategy, but now that we have informed the Alliance they are switching, sending massive waves of forces reminiscent of Krogan and Turian strategies. They will be sending in small fry before the elite soldiers and their tanks. My plan is to take out their armor vehicle sections out in one go and using the bridges. We need to hold the line long enough that the pirates are forced to send in their tanks. Once they are won the bridge, I want our artillery to blast the support beams and take them out in one few swoop, Izuku explained. My men have already set up fortifications. I can have our engineers set up more defenses behind and plant explosives as well, one officer said. Do it. Air Force, what is our status on our aircraft? Looking at the women. The pirate forces are made up of Mantis-type gunships. Good for dealing with infantry but too slow for us. With our anti-aircraft turrets they won't be an issue. My people can deal with them, but until we finish them off don't expect much air support, she assured. And quirk users? Mostly transformation and mutant quirks, sir. Most of us are mid to short range. We have a few emitter, in the lower double digits, users, but we have them at the very back provide long-range support. Good enough for now, Dimin. He was hoping for more emitter quirks than this. Looking at the list, he had a few idea on how to use them, but looking at what they are capable of, that was off the table for now. Alright folks, we don't much time before they reach halfway through the bridge. Let's get going. Seeing them all go, Izuku was left watching the hologram of the city. Thankfully the pirate did not destroy their satellites. All he could do was wait and hope everything got ready for the attack. It was the one thing that worried him, not being able to do anything. Looking at the incoming pirate, he soon saw the red icons meet with their blue icons. Someone confirmed that fighting was occurring on all bridges. There were 4 walls on each bridge, with each one filled with machine guns, automated turrets, rocket drones, and Loki mechs. Mortar fire from the back also brought aid to. Only when the men reached the second wall that they received word that they were sending in the tanks. This was where they had to hold the line as long as possible. Watching the enemy tank approach was the most nerve-wracking thing he did in his entire life. There were reports of increased casualties and the death count rising. But he received no order for a retreat. Only after seeing the last tank get onto the bridge did he give the order. Artillery team, you're good to go. He heard the distant sound of mass accelerator round before the ground rumble, as minutes later a terrible groaning sound filled the air and the crash that came from it. Bridge 3 was the first to fall. Then after that they got confirmation on Bridge 2 falling. Entire fields of enemy units vanished off sight as their men made it back safely. Now they were waiting for Bridge 1 to fall. Which should be happening right now. Artillery team, what is going on out there? Bridge 1 is still standing? Izuku demanded. The tanks were moving in closer as their forces moved to the last line of defense. Enemy aircraft are blocking our view. We can't get our 6 to target a clear shot. His hands clenched the table tightly as his heart felt like it was gripped by ice. The men would not survive against the pirates. With tanks and armor vehicles rolling, they would destroy their defenses. All men, this Commander Midoriya, regroup at Bridge 1 and do not allow the pirate to make any more headway. And someone get me all the explosives that we have. If we can't blow it to pieces, then we do it manually. Rushing out of the tent, his 2 men followed after as they rushed to bridge. Getting to the bridge, it was a complete war zone. The bridge was littered with craters and dead bodies as the smell of Ezo and corpses filled the air. The sound was deafening as artillery and gunfire made it nearly impossible to talk at all. The fortification they had was little more than rags and spilled sand as tank fire reduced it to nothing. He walked over the corpse of an unlucky soldier. He ran over to the sergeant in charge as a shot skidded over his armor. Sergeant, how are things here? I think you can see how it is, Commander. Even pirates have us holed up here and they know we can't last long. Another round striked close to where they were. What about explosives? Where is it and how many do we have? He pointed to a squad a few ways back. There, sir, we don't have enough to destroy all the support beams. We can take out a few key ones that in theory should make the bridge fall, but we can't get close to all of them. A few are on the other side and we don't have the men to make it there. I can handle that, Sergeant. You just get everything ready on your side, Izuku replied back as more men started funneling in. All air forces, this is Commander Midoriya and I need air support right now. Can you give me anything to work with? This is Rogers. I can send a squadron of fighter drones to take their attention away from you. How long? 10 to 15 minutes. Good enough. Going over to grab the explosives. All right, start your attack now and try not to hit the left railing. A few seconds later they heard turbines roaring as multiple aerial drones rushed in and started attacking, causing the pirate to turn their attention to them. While that was happening, Izuku motioned to his men to follow them as they sneaked through the left railing to the other side. As they made their way through, one thing they noticed was that they were not as many soldiers the further they went in. Seemed like they placed everything into the frontal assault. There were 4 support beams they needed to take out as they made to each beam one by one, getting all but one of the beams armed with explosives. Triplets. Commander, I don't mean to sound paranoid, but isn't it odd that they don't have any defenses here? You think after we bombed the last 2 they would have been more alert, Lucas whispered. Maybe they lost most of their forces already. I mean, we took a huge chunk from each bridge that fell. They may not have enough men left, Carter answered back. I guess so, but it just doesn't seem right. Call it a hunch, okay? Still unsure about the situation. Izuku may not have said anything, but he did silently agree with his teammate. Something was off about this all. Pirates were many things, with stupid being included, but even an idiot could realize this was an odd response. His radar was picking up no signs still as he went over to the last beams and started to place the bomb. That was when something appeared on his radar, his teammates turning around and pointing their gun at the person. Walking out was an Asari wearing heavy battle armor, something that made him tense. Asari didn't wear heavy armor. They preferred medium or light armor for better mobility and flexibility, allowing their shields to soak up damage. So seeing one of them not following the norm already worried him. You must be Commander Midoriya, the one who has costed my master this assault on the colony, the Asari spoke. I'm surprised you know of me, Izuku replied, blocking the bomb with his body. As his Omni tool hovered over it. There are few that can hide from my master's sight. One, they have his attention. You have been a great inconvenience to him, and for that you must die. Her body glowed blue as bullets bounced off her shields. Lucas and Carter grunted in pain as she lifted them off and threw them to side. Neither of them got up right away as they rolled in pain. Biotics were highly poisonous to quirk users. Izo in general was poisonous. Izuku looked at Anderson. Yep, ever since we found the Mars Achieves. Izo is dangerous for all races without protection, but even more so for humans. Where others may suffer cancer or radiation poisonings, our quirks react violently to it, causing us pain throughout our body. On top of that, Izo also can damage quirks over time, making them weaker as well, causing dangerous mutations. However, for other races there is chance that if unborn children are exposed to Izo, they will develop special nodes within their brain, giving them the power to control mass effect fields. We call them biotics, and they are the worst enemies to fight against. I've seen a lot of soldiers forced to drop out thanks to intense Izo poisoning, the man explained. Should I be worried? Izuku asked. No, you're quirkless, kid. That makes you the only human unable to hurt by them, well, not as much as everyone else. Wait a minute, there was something else I read from the codex. Those Asari. That was their name, snapping his hand. I heard that all Asari are natural biotics. Should I be worried about them too? Not all of them, only a small percentage of them ever get the implants needed to fully use them in combat. If you even fight one of them, the important thing you need to know is weak eyesight, recover slowly, and tentacles. He hid behind some rubble as a warp sheared off part of the concrete. Tech armor appeared as he raised his Omni tool at her, and a bright beam of light hit her, causing her cover them. All Asari have weaker eyesight than humans when it comes to bright light. Shining something bright will stun them momentarily as they slowly adjust to it. Running up, he smashed her face, feeling a weakened barrier absorb some of the damage, and kicking her in the gut, he grabbed her head tentacles. All Asari had cartilage-based scalp crest that just so resembled like tentacles. Because of that, their crest were sensitive to force, so grabbing tightly on them was more painful than pulling your hair. The Asari let out a powerful throw, launching him away as his men started to get back up. Her shields absorbed the attacks as he ran into cover. Carter used his quirk at the Asari, trying to take down her shield, but the woman was too fast for him to hit, and the debris in the area made it impossible to land a hit on her. The Asari fired back with her shotgun, forcing the quirk user to move back to cover. With 3 people attacking her, it should have been easy killing her. If she wasn't an Asari commando, well, no. None of them had any idea if the Asari was a commando or not. All they knew was she was skilled and was putting up a good fight. Neither of Izuku's men could do much. They were never trained to fight biotics like he was, and it was showing. Their guns were rendered useless as the women's barriers just ate them up and did not relent. He tried to blind her again, but she made sure to stay in cover and gave him no room to do it. Lucas attempted to bull rush her as she used a pull, causing him to suddenly float in the air as the Mass Effect field cancelled gravity. A glow orb of biotics blasted them in his chest, a throw, blasting him away into the support and slumping down. The Asari pulled him and onto the floor next to her. She pointed her gun and his head exploded from the point-blank attacks. "Lucas! You son of a beach!" "Wait, Carter, no." It was too late as the man tried to blast his quirk, leaving himself open. Her biotics lifted him up and she threw him over the edge as his screams died down quickly. "I am surprised you haven't acted in rage yet? They were good soldiers that didn't deserve to die like that. I'll mourn for them after you're dead," he called out, rolling a grenade to where she was. He heard the women curse as the explosion went off and the shimmer of her kinetic barriers going off. He fired at her as he saw splotches of blood. A few bullets managed to get into the armor as she returned fire. Forming an omni-shield to block the attack, he fired a Ceroblast as it hit the gun, causing frost to form over it as warning signs blared. A incendiary finished it, the gun shattering into pieces as superheated pieces embed themselves into her hands, crying out in pain. A damping stopped the biotic powers. An electric pulse was sent out as it targeted her nervous system, stopping any biotic and quirk attacks for a short. The last thing the Asari saw was the human raising his gun at her and fired relentlessly until it overheated. The limiter kicked, turning her head into a pile of processed meat. Izuku watched as the body twitched a little before staying dead. He knelt over Lucas's corpse and pulled out his dog tag. They would not be able to bury him after the bridge collapses. Not like they could bury a pile of crushed up meat. The least he could do is give them his dog tags. Looking back at the Asari, he took out the women's Omni tool. She must have been high-ranking if she knew who was in charge. Going over to Bomb, he primed it as his Omni tool showed him that they were going back to main camp and the tanks would be starting to enter into the city. He ordered the demolition teams to start the countdown. His bomb starting beeping as it showed 10 minutes before countdown. So in 10 minutes he had ran halfway through the bridge before it collapses. Joy. Triplets. Whoever decided giving soldiers genetic enhancements was a genius and should be given a raise. His could taste his saliva as it thickened as his legs burned, demanding rest. Had he been a normal person without a speed quirk, this would have been impossible, even running at full speed. With genetic enhancements it was doable. His legs disagreed. And his shields. Another round bounced off his shield as the mercs started firing at him. Some of the tanks tried to as well, but with the fallen rubble he was able to hide from the attacks as they rocked the bridge. The bombs from the backs went off first as it started to rumble and him double timing it. The support beams and ropes snapped and crumbled under the increased weight as more pirates either ran to the city to escape or jump off and hoped they would survive. "Come on, Midoriya. Come on, come on, come on. You're so close." The frontal support blew up as he leapt on the falling cliff edge. He barely grabbed onto the edge and struggled to stay one. A soldier saw him and helped him up as they made their way back to the camp. They had stopped the pirates from invading. XXX 1 week later. XXX. "Anderson, what are you doing here?" Izuku saw the Lendon-born man enter his room. It has been a week since the attack on Eligium and the 7th Fleet arriving. Like the rest, he cheered till his voice became sore, seeing Alliance fighters and drones finishing up the remaining enemy gunships, and more Marines came in to help them finish off the remaining pirate forces in the city. "Checking how you are doing. You gave me a scare when communications went down. How is the pirate threat here?" "Last I heard, the pirates have broken off from each other and are trying to hide around the planet. That was the problem of planetary warfare. You could never raise an army big enough to fully take over a planet. The best you can do, take the capital, manufacturing living centers, and spaceports. After that was reacting to what the native resistance would do and shut it down. In this case it was waiting for the pirates to regroup and attack, or hope they take a ship and get out months or years later. It could have been a lot worse if you hadn't broken through and sent us that message. I can only hope that we can save the colonists that were captured. On that note, has the Alliance looked over the data I sent?" Izuku volunteered to be part of the recovery teams as they tried to find dog tags or any other identifications for the dead before burial. His job was to look for any data pertaining to the attack. Most of what he found was nothing. The pirates and mercs were paid grunts that had no idea about the attack. The AIC would later use the data found to break into the enemy bank accounts and funnel the money into Eligium's new militia and charities for families who suffered from the attack. A few bodies did reveal more. Some of the higher-ranking officers knew that Haliot had bought the info from a third party to break into their networks, and they had coordinates to a few planets they used to hide or vent their ships. The Asari Omni tool, on the other hand, was a treasure trove of information. It showed that Haliot had gotten his information from the Shadow Broker. The info showed plans of the attack and where their main targets were. It showed caches where they stored any excess goods as well, contact and organizations that helped with the attack. If he had more time he could have learned more, but decided to hand it to the AIC. "We have the data you brought will instrumental in the counterattack. We originally believed the plan would take months to make, but with the data that has been shortened to 2 weeks. The pirates have moved the colonists to the planet Torfan, a well-defended moon used by slavers and pirates," said Anderson as he showed the base through his Omni tool. It looked like an average moon if you ignored the large fleet of ships orbiting it. Anderson highlighted multiple points on the planet. The planet has hundreds of orbital cannons dotted around. The admirals plan to send small strike forces to a few of these cannons, disabling them and giving us an LZ. Once in, we will need to break into underground section. This time the planet was phased out and a labyrinthian maze of tunnels and bunkers appeared. What in world is this? It looks like a giant mess of buildings, like an ant colony. Because it is. Torfan has been traded through many hands before the Batarians took it over, and they all have built on top of existing infrastructure. When the hegemony took over, they had tried to make this moon into a battle station or some sort of black ops base until Council Spectres found out about it. Some political bullshit later, and the moon no longer belongs to the hegemony. Officially, at least. Any idea where our colonist will be? No diamond clue till we land there. Alright, count me in, sir. There is no way I am sitting out of this attack, Izuku said. I wouldn't have it any other way, N7. Yavik, what in the name of the pillars are you doing here? Yavik turned to his fellow Batarian. Huh. Oh, sorry, Kudesh, I wasn't listening. I can tell, he dryly replied. I said, what are you doing here? You know our shift is over now and we can go back in. I've been trying to call you for half an hour already. I just want to see the stars. Back home I never was able to see stars since the city's light polluted everything, Yavik answered. Yeah, and that is why we have the extranet. You could have just looked pictures there, Kudesh grumbled. But it isn't the same. Besides, you're only saying that because you were born in the rural area. You may hate this, but this is the best thing I've seen in my entire life. Look over there at that corner. See that comet there? It looks beautiful, pointing to the comet. I don't think that is a comet to red to be one, and is it me, or is that thing coming? The comet verged from its path and came straight at them. Kudesh jumped away as Yavik started running. Both were blown off their feet when the thing crashed down. Yavik was the first to walk to it. Getting a closer look, he realized it was not a pile of rock or superheat ore. It was a drop pod. The doors blew open as the last thing he saw was the laser dot coming off the rifle. He fell to the ground as air rapidly left from the punctured hole in his suit. The other Batarian fared no better as he was gunned down from the unknown assailant. Only after the smoke cleared was the person seen and the N7 logo placed firmly on the chest piece. The armor was black and red with segmented pieces covering a black undersuit. This N7 Izuku Midoriya reporting, all nearby enemies down. Begin landing at my position. He activated his transmitter as above more streaks of red started landing down and more Ns entering. The team wasted no time. Once they all landed down, they headed to the massive orbital gun close by. As they traveled across the moon, they saw that the cannon was not fully above ground, only partially. Any doors, Marco? Izuku's helmet camera narrowed and looked for any sign of an entrance. The man pulled out his binoculars and pointed to a small mound of moon dust rock. Going over the door was well hidden as they pulled away the rocks. His Omni tool created a small holographic block and placed it on the door. Minutes later, the door turned green and opened. They began shooting the Batarians and pirates manning the cannon with ease. Most of the people inside were unarmed and unarmored, as few were trained in actual gun combat. That was left to the guards to come here periodically. Some of them tried to call for help, but Izuku and the other engineers part of his team made sure to bug the outgoing networks. Anything that went out was captured, copied, and deleted by the malware. Within an hour they secured the cannon and contacted the fleets. The other cannons reported the same thing. Now it was time for the light show. Uploading their own targeting 6, the stolen cannons turned on their allies and fired at them. In space, the enemy fleet was shaken out of its stupor as they watched various ships torn apart from the sudden fire. Command was called, as even they were shocked. Nothing in their systems was showing they were firing at all, and when they tried to contact them, they didn't respond back. As Command was trying to understand the situation, the fleet admiral reported that the relay was activating. Wolfpack frigates were sent as the ships moved out of the way of the cannons. An hour later, and they still did not receive any news. It was only when his XO informed him that nearby satellites found the fleet. When the feed came on, many on the bridge panicked or paled at the sight. It was the Alliance, and they had sent a fleet, an entire fleet. They sent the DMN's 6th Fleet, as the flagship SSV Fuji could be seen blasting away at them. Back on the ground, the teams watched as streaks of molten metal begun crashing back down. The Alliance had begun the fireworks. And I love the sight of burnt Batarians in the morning. 1 in 5 laughed. About time we finally teach these BSs a lesson they won't forget. You can boast about it later. Sensors are showing the Batarians are realizing our ruse. They are sending 2 squads down to check it out. What are your orders, sir? An N6 interrupted. Start fortifying the place and don't let them in. We didn't steal this cannon, only to return it back. Izuku began moving his group around. Said group was a mix of long mid-range quirk users, soldiers, infiltrators, and combat engineers. He had his infiltrators and quirk users stay in the back, as his engineers were placed in the middle setting up their turrets, and soldiers were put up close raising their shotguns and submachines guns. The sealed door began sparking as the guards slowly opening the door as the sparks moved around the door. Everyone raised their guns, waiting and tapping the side of their weapons till the sparking stopped. The door blew open as everyone returned fire. A few grunts of pain aside, sensors showed more men starting to come. He nodded to the engineers as they activated their omni-tools, and ball-shaped combat drones appeared as they clogged the entryway. The drones let out zaps of electricity, damaging the shields and internal electronics of their weapons while making it impossible to move forward, letting the soldiers' infiltrators take out the guards. Eventually the guards realized that their methods was not working, moved back for now. As they left, everyone relaxed a little bit, knowing more would be coming until the fleet can break though. Izuku went back to the main terminal that connected the cannon to the rest of the moon's network. Looks like they are trying block us. Give me a second, just need to put this 6 in. And what is this piece of code? Oh, I see what you are. That is really clever of them. Take that chunk of code out for this one, place this into this layer instead, and there you go. The computer showed access to the network. Now let us see where they are hiding our colonist. The screen shifted to the sigh of humans cramped in large metal cells. All of them wore simple clothing, as some look heavily bruised or had scarring on their arms of legs. DMN, there was no control to release the prison that was on a separate network, and even if he did, they had to deal with the armed guards. He turned to the records of when the colonist arrived. The first few entries showed the colonist resisting all attempts made at them. The guards had tried to avoid beating them as to not damage the goods, but it was clear that force was needed to make them listen. The early night were brutal, as the guards were not afraid to beat to the ground and deny them food and water for slightest insult. Then the SLV conditioning began. He refused to look at those files. Looking around, he found a list of clients that were either here or where to arrive to check on the slaves. Most of their names turned up to be Batarian, but a few were Asari and Turian. However, there was one name that struck out from the rest of the clients, or in this case a title. Who in the world is the High Priest? Going back to the search directory, it showed that this High Priest was constant visitor and always came with guards that wore hegemony symbols. He had just arrived a few days ago after hearing news of the colonist, eager to see any interesting stocks. He looked at the video feeds, seeing a heavily armed Batarian whose armor looked more ornamental than practical, and was he wielding a spear of all things? 6th Fleet, this is N7 Izuku Midoriya and I need all info we have on these High Priest from the hegemony. N7 we have received your request and are sending all available data on the High Priest. His Omni tool flashing as the data packet was sent. Looking at the data packet, the High Priest was one of the key leaders of the Batarian religion, and the duty of them was ensure the spirit of the Batarian people were kept strong while guiding the other races through reincarnation. Their religion closely resembled that of Hinduism, where a caste system was deeply entwined with religion. However, he could not read more as his men informed that the first ships would be landing soon. Readying his rifle, he braced himself for the upcoming battle. XXX Day 1 XXX. The rocket whirled past his head as it blew the closed door behind him wide open. He returned fire and watched the heavy gunmen go down. It has been a day since the siege started and already they were running into problems. For one, the pirates have fully locked down the base and were expunging their systems, making it difficult to get any further. The good news was that they knew where the colonists were or where they used to be. It was easily to realize why they were here, and the pirates decided that they were going to make the alliance bleed and grind before they got the colonists back. The colonists were split up and spread all across the moon. Some of them were kept in pens while others strapped explosives to them and threatened to blow them up if they got close. Suffice to say, every soldier on this moon was getting frustrated. Not at the colonist, but at the Batarians doing this. Already he had to order some men to not rip out their eyes. Someone had learned that the Batarians believed the soul left through the eyes and that destroying them meant dimming their spirits. He knew his men were angry and frustrated, but he would be DMing before allowing this to occur. No matter how much he hated them, there were some lines you did not cross. Besides that, the pirates also locked down each doorway, fortifying them were machine gun nest, flamethrowers, proximity mines. They tried to send men through the vents to ambush them. Not like the last one worked, looking up to see the Swiss cheese-shaped vents. Reloading his gun, he fired it into the machine gun nest as the bullet hit the sandbag instead. A cryo-blast froze the gun as it nearly broke his shields. Firing again, he smiled this time as the gunner fell to the ground, blood coming out of his throat as his friend tried to apply medgel. A big mistake as the infiltrator behind him shot his head. He and his men made their way around the machine gun nest as they piled the bodies to one corner before burning them. He was thankful that their helmets came with filtration devices. The last thing he wanted was to smell burning corpses. A hoarse cough alerted him to a Batarian still alive in far corner. He looked badly injured. Walking up, the Batarian's eyes widened in fear as his hands scrambled for a gun. He froze when Izuku raised his at him. "I wouldn't try that if I were you." What do you want?" He whimpered, his baritone voice conveying his fears. "The colonist, where are you hiding them? If answer correctly, the Alliance can offer you medical aid. If not, well, that infection on your leg doesn't look good," Izuku spoke. "I don't know. The higher-ups were the ones that decided to move them. All I know is that a family, a family of them are on the other side, and no else is there, I swear to the pillars." The Batarian coughed out. "And what about the High Priest? Who in the world is he?" Pointing to a picture of the priest on his Omni tool. The High Priest? He's a regular here, comes every month for new stock. When he heard about the human SLV, he wanted to get first looks before the higher caste members. I think he is still in main command room and he has SIU guarding him. The Special Intervention Unit, the elite arm of the hegemony and their answer to the ends. Very little is known about them save for the brutal training and the mortality rate being a staggering 18%. How many colonists have been sold already? I need names. Izuku pressed. "None. You came too early for us to even implant the control chips. The humans would have been sold to highest bidders, some of them to work at the farms, some to be trophy slaves, maybe given to the SLV legions, or just a straight-up SSC SLV. I don't know human. ASEC SLV. I thought you BSTRDS loved only yourselves. Sissy slaves, how low can you go?" one soldier growled. "Hey, don't blame me, alright. The upper caste have weird features and you be surprised how many find your kind to be attractive." The pirate coughed and looked up to Izuku. "Please, that is all I know. I don't want to die here." Izuku did not answer back, motioning his men to enter the next room. A few minutes, a family of 3 came out, all of them looking scared and relieved. Seems you kept your side of the bargain. He applied some med gel on the pirate and knocked him out with a punch. I didn't say that I would let you go. Are you three alright? I'm Izuku Midoriya from the Alliance and we're here get you all out, walking over the family. Thank you, I knew the Alliance would never abandon us. My wife and child owe their lives to you. Why is that freak not dead yet? Pointing to the knocked Batarian, why haven't you killed him? He could try to attack us or worse. They said they will put control chips in my family and make me watch. I can't let that happen. Relax, that Batarian isn't going to do anything to you and nobody is going to put control chips into your family. Right now you're going through some rough trauma right now and aren't thinking straight. Let's get you out of here first. I have a shuttle waiting for you. Izuku calmed the father down. He ordered his to escort the family and tie up the pirate for further interrogation. 3 down and 157 more colonists to go. XXX Day 3 XXX. This is all your fault, Haliot. If you hadn't brought your ships here, none of this would have happened. One Batarian roared as he slammed the table. My fault? Your people thought it was a great idea to attack the Alliance. I was paid to do what you ordered. I failed to see how this was my fault, the Turian calmly replied. To any Turian in the room, they could hear the frustration coming from his subharmonics. Sadly, his reply did nothing to soothe the angry SLV owners and retired Batarian generals. If it wasn't Haliot, they happily turned their anger to the other members, happy to play the blame game as their men died. High Priest Gorith looked at the scene in front of him as it reminded him of young initials who didn't know a DMN about anything. Kugoth, give me the strength to armor my soul against the lost. Muskar, give my mind the resolve so I can cast the shadow of doubt from my mind. Tander, let your burning spear and heart envelop my own so I can cast the enemies of the great cycle to their end. Breathing in, he felt his soul calm down. Reciting the ancient scriptures brought peace within him. Something that was sorely lacking here. Why was money and their own safety the root of their fears? Death shouldn't be a fear. Their souls were automatically saved by the gods for their acts of grace. For every soul brought into the hegemony was one more soul saved and given a chance to escape the cycle through hard work and faith. How could money ever bring happiness compared to bringing salvation to the galaxy? Enough! The Batarians in the room quieted and the mercs turned to him. There will be no more infighting. As we speak, more and more people are being taken away and losing their chance at reincarnation. I had stayed back thinking you would have a plan, but all I see is children whining and complaining. I've seen slaves with more maturity than you all. I shall have my personal guard assist our forces and stopping the Alliance from making any more pushes. If none of you wish to lead, I shall personally lead the charge. Sergeant Balkier, take your men and bring them to where the Alliance are hitting us the most hardest. The member bowed before he and a portion of his men left. He did not wait for an answer as he left the war room. His HUD showed the Alliance close. They were attacking Bunker 14. He ran for the bunker as he could hear gunfire and shouting coming from the door. As it opened, he was greeted by the sight of Alliance forces started to overrun the place. The soldier in front of him gurgled in shock, horror, or fear as his monomolecular spear ripped through his armor as the internal mass effect generators started ripping his organs to subatomic particles. His six warned him of 2 other firing at him as he threw a grenades and poison gas coming out. The armor they wore rusted rapidly in front of them and breaking their filtration devices as they clutched their throats in vain. A shame that rust-eater grenades were so hard to make. He quickly finished off the remaining soldiers inside the bunker as they moved away and back into the tunnels where one of his guards arrived with M76 Revenant as hundreds of high-velocity rounds spewed out within moments and tore through the fleeing soldiers. Those that survived would have to deal with the lethal polonium poisoning. Surveying the area, he helped one of the men up and ordered them to start repairing the bunker. Looking at the dead men and women, he gave a small prey to each one as they left for their next life. His HUD showed the rest of his guards aiding in the defense as Alliance soldiers were being kicked out and pushed back. Not enough to start a counterattack, but enough to give them breathing space. The only hope any of them had was for the hegemony to realize something was wrong and send aid. But that would take time as even with days passed by there was still no word. The best they could do was keep the slaves away and make them bleed for it. High Priest Gorath promised to see the Alliance pay for their blasphemy, and if this was to be his tomb, then so be it. All he could do now is drag as many as he could. XXX Day 5 XXX. Admiral, we can't keep doing this, my men are being blasted to pieces out there. One officer pleaded. Izuku watched as the head admiral's frown deepen. It has been 5 days since their surprise attack on Torfan, and they have been losing steam since the initial assault. The plan went out as intended, and they had gotten nearly half of the colonists back in the initial run. What they didn't expect was the sheer stubbornness the pirates were putting up. The further they tried to get into the moon, the harder and brutal they fought back. Even the men were starting to feel the strain, as a few were complaining and wishing to end this as soon possible. Not that he could blame them. He turned back to the pile of dead soldiers. He already lost good men and women and doubted it would get any better. But the idea of abandoning the remaining colonists did not sit right with him either. He is not wrong, sir. The longer we stay here, the more likely the hegemony will intervene. My ships have already intervened and shot down 2 ships trying to leave the relay. I don't want to be the one that has to deal with a curious Batarian fleet. We already have gotten most of the colonists. I say let's bomb the place and leave, a rear admiral spoke. And what are you thinking, Rear Admiral? The head of the 6th Fleet asked. Our nukes, their bases might be strong, but they are nothing to a few megatons of nuclear warheads, the man offered. Sir, you can't be serious. We would be nuking our own people too. The people would be furious if they learn we did that. Izuku interrupted. Some would, but I think many would be more happy knowing that more colonies will never be attacked by pirates again, and when the colonists speak of their experiences on the moon, many will support our actions. And for those that lost their lives, we can offer yearly sum of money to help their remaining family, the Rear Admiral countered. I must agree with the Rear Admiral on this one and 7. I will not have our fleet be open for a possible Batarian attack nor cause a potential war. We end this battle today, the Admiral ordered, slamming down on his armrest. Do any of you have a good spot where to place our nukes? I may have an answer to that, Admiral, Izuku sighed. He pulled out a map of the facility and highlighted key points. If you want to cause maximum damage, then these are the best places. They are near to all known barracks, fusion reactors, warehouse, and you name it. All of these areas are within range of the nuke. But Izuku Midoriya, have you men start taking the bombs to the selected areas. The Admiral and other members vanished as Izuku was left alone. He ordered his men to expect packages coming from the fleet as he headed over there. An hour later, he was greeted by the sight of multiple cargo transport ships landing down as they started bringing out the nukes. He had teams filled with soldiers that knew their respective location and an N5, N6 leading them to it. As the teams were made and the bombs began moving, he went back their impromptu command base. God, it was like Eligium all over again. Being forced to watch as his men were moving into position and being unable to doing anything until something goes horribly wrong. After the bridge incident, he didn't want to assume anything. Bomb 1 is secure. Bomb 2 is secure. Bomb 3 is secure. Bomb 4 is secure. Bomb 5 is secure. Bomb 6 is, sir, I think we have a problem. What is it, soldier? Izuku ordered. The team is reporting heavily fire on the way. That High Priest and his SIU bodyguards are stopping them. They must have figured out the plan, the operator explained. They still must have sensors in the room. Tell them to hold position and do not let them get that bomb no matter what. I'll be there in a moment. He and small team of soldiers assembled as they rushed over to help the remaining team, and as they got closer, the sound of gunfire could be heard. The bomb was secured in a small bedroom, while the main hall was a small sea of gunfire, quirks, and biotics. 2 soldiers were down dead, and a 1 SIU could be seen holding in throat in vain as another tried to help him. A combined incendiary and pyroblast dealt with that. In the middle of the fight, he could plainly see the High Priest, his advanced suit of armor, taking the gun as men and women fell to his spear. Modern shields weren't designed to handle melee weapons. He wasted no time as he ran close to the priest as his men looked shocked or tired to stop him. Gavog. The priest halted his attack on one unlucky soldier, as did the Batarians followed suit. The High Priest turned to him with eyes that shined surprise and barely contained fury. How do you know those words? Acid words coming out of his mouth. Did some of my own research about your culture. The minute I saw you on the feed I knew you were trouble, so I did some searching. Gavag, a term used in the religious sects of Batarian's culture, it means person without protection of the gods or the closest thing to a religious curse word, Izuku answered. Then you know what it means to speak such blasphemy to me, the priest hissed. I do. Your religion dictates that you must kill the man that insulted you to regain your honor. However, your religion also dictates that I must also gain something from this fight. The scales of balance are not equal here. He had spent all of his free time studying and learning about the Batarian religion and its inner workings. One of the few things the hegemony did not censor. Trial by combat required that an reward of equal value was given to whoever the victor was. If it was not balanced, then the gods would not acknowledge it, and it will be moot. What is it that you want, human? The surrender of these mercs. If I win, then they must lay their weapons and armor down. I cannot give you that, the high priest replied. They lack faith in the true gods. Money is their lord they bow to. Then the slaves, you will give me every colonist you have taken and the rest of the remaining slaves. The priest nodded. He raised his left arm up while his right hand covered his heart. Very well, under the eyes of Urath, acknowledge your demands. To you accept what I demand. Izuku copied his movement. I accept them. He pulled out his rifle as he ordered his men to stay back. The high priest doing the same thing as he readied his spear. The priest moved first as his suit's internal rockets activated and flew over TP Izuku, who fired at him. Leaping over to the side, his sensors showed minor damage to the priest's barriers. The priest turned around and threw one of his grenades as Izuku shot it in the air. Toxic gas came out as he moved away. Rust-eater grenades, an infamous and very illegal item in council space. The priest moved away from the gas cloud and lunged at Izuku with his spear. The spear bypassed his shields, just grazing his armor but enough to leave a small scar. Kicking it away, a point-blank attack from his assault rifle quickly whittled away at the Batarian's shield. Grabbing the spear, he tried to hold the priest down, only to see him let it go easily and pulled out two knives. Pushing himself closer to Izuku as the N7's gun hissed and red-orange superheated silicon carbide flashed into existence. The two of them fought it out as it became clear that for all of his training the high priest was far more skilled when it came to sword fighting. The priest's knives went through his rifle as the gun hissed and fizzled. He ripped it out of Izuku's hand and threw it away. Both of Izuku's Omni tools activated as one created a large SWAT-styled shield and the other turned into an Omni blade. As the blades bounced off the shield, he slammed the priest with it. The first few times left the man stunned before shaking it off. Each time he lunged, the Omni blade turned into a thin spear that punctured into his armor. The Batarian threw down a flashbang, causing Izuku to flinch and move away, giving the priest breathing space. The Batarian swept his legs upward, pressing down on his shield and stopping Midoriya from doing anything else. Two small vials of green dangled in front of his shields as the high priest unscrewed them and poured it onto his Omni shield. The shield hissed loudly and sounded like firecrackers going off as he watched it dissolve the silicon carbide. Pushing the priest off, Izuku watched as whatever liquid was in the green vial started causing his Omni tool to spark and lit on fire, forcing him to throw it off, and his arm braced too. The priest picked up his spear and threw at him, piercing through his armor and causing him to yell out. I applaud you, human. Few have ever pushed me this far, but this is the end for you, human, the high priest huffed. He forced the human onto his knees, pushing the blade through and back out the other side. Grabbing one of his remaining knives, he readied himself to cut off the human's head. Is there any last words you wish to speak, human? You should have gone for the other arm, Izuku gasped. He grabbed the priest's leg and converted his remaining Omni tool into a taser. As the Batarian stumbled, he pulled out the spear and stabbed into the priest's chest and repeated the motion, but this time at his head. Seeing the body twitch one last time, he threw the spear away and started applying Medigel to his arm. He looked back to the remaining Batarian. Will you keep your side of the promise, or do I order my men to open fire at you? One of the Batarian put his fingers on his earpiece. This Arhu, I am ordering all remaining slaves to be returned to the humans. The high priest is dead by trial of combat. Alright, you will have your people back. Not every day I see one of our greatest leaders die to you. Tell me, human, what is your name? Izuku Midoriya. It has been an honor to see you, Midoriya. May the gods grant you strength. All the Batarians in the room grabbed their side arms and shot themselves in the head. What the F dash? One soldier gasped. They are honor guards. Their lives are bound to the high priest, and should he die they are expected to follow after him in the next life, Izuku explained. His pain going away as they injected the painkillers. Doesn't matter now. Just get the colonist when they arrive and arm the bomb. I want off this DMN moon. Triplets. Izuku watched as nuclear fire burst out of the moon. Looking down, his finger pressing on the trigger. Taking a deep breath, he tossed the trigger away and leaned back on his seat. He could not help but wonder how many people just died from the bombs or would soon die from either the collapsing network or radiation coming at them. Did he disapprove the action the Admiral had taken? Maybe a little bit. It was one thing to shoot a man with gun, but another using a bomb. Not that he was guilty of killing the pirates. Oh no, he had no regrets on that part. They were slavers who were putting horrific SLV-controlled chips into their victims. Killing them was a mercy on the universe. In past he would have been applauded at the mere idea, as killing people was not what heroes did. Of course, years of military training destroyed that belief. No, what bothered him was the fact there was still 50 colonists that died on the moon. Even with the begrudging help of the Batarians, the rest of the pirates refused to part with them, and they had no more time to get them out. It just annoyed him that there still were people they could have saved but failed to. But the soldier in him argued that doing so meant more good men and women dying to the pirates. And that made him pause. Either or, the situation was a terrible one and there was no good answer to it. All he could really do is hope things would get better from here on out. But for some reason he couldn't the feeling off that this was merely the start of something else, something bigger. So Udina actually managed to get the council to give us another chance. Never knew the bastard had it in him. Anderson spoke aloud. You do know I am here, Anderson, Udina dryly replied. We are very lucky that the council was willing to try again after your last debacle, Anderson. It costed a lot to get them to even reconsider it in such a short amount of time. Regardless, we now have a chance to put another human as a potential Spectre, and we should not waste this opportunity, Hackett spoke in. Agreed. Who do you think we should pick? One admiral asked. What about Igor Alexander? The man survived that brutal incident on Accuse. Not many can say they survived a Thresher Maw, one admiral pointed out. You forgot about the part where he soon left the Alliance after it. Just because he survived a Thresher Maw doesn't mean he came out without scars. I don't want to ever see the person who can watch their entire squad die and come out with sunshine and rainbows. Let the man rest, Anderson retorted. I agree with the captain. His personality profile shows he still has a long ways to go before he is stable enough to be considered. The last thing we need is showing a broken man to be humanity's best, Udina agreed. What about Lena Ayed? She was in the Battle of Torfan and had rescued dozens of colonists, a general offered. The same woman who sacrificed dozens of her own men? Didn't she get the nickname the Butcher of Torfan? Hackett asked. Bah, as if she is fazed by it, the general waved. She's a dim and good soldier and there is no job she can't get done. The council wants Spectres that can get the job done no matter the cost, and my girl is not afraid to get her hands dirty if it means the success of the mission, he proudly said. Maybe in the future we could add her into the Spectres, but her reputation would only hinder us right now. A lot of the galaxy sees us as fast-growing brutes, and putting her forward would only deepen those beliefs. We need to show the galaxy we can be diplomatic and can rise above the preconceived notions about us. Udina shaked his head. Izuku Midoriya, what about him? Anderson spoke out. The boy is already famous from being 200 years in the past. He served in the Skillen Blitz. Hell, he is the reason we were able to attack Torfan so quickly. The boy has a good head on his shoulders, and unlike Ayed was able to get more colonists without sacrificing all of his men. He killed a high-ranking Batarian leader on the way too. You want somebody that can represent humanity's best? He's your man. That could work. His reputation for saving Eligium has made him famous not only in human circles but aliens too. A man who prefers asking first than shooting first. Yes, I agree with the choice. The ambassador nodded his head. Does anyone disagree? Hackett asked. Seeing that no one was going to, he nodded to the ambassador. Very well, I'll make the call. XXX Normandy XXX. Thruster check. Navigation check. Internal emissions sync engaged. All systems are online. Drift just under 1,500 K, said Joker. 1,500 K is good, your captain will be pleased, Nihilus replied before leaving. A few seconds after the Turian left, Joker spoke again. I really hate that guy. Nihilus gave you a compliment and you hate him? Caden looked bewildered at the pilot. Please. You remember to zip up your jumpsuit on the way out of the bathroom? That's good. I just jumped us halfway across the galaxy and hit a target the size of a pinball. So that's incredible, Joker replied. Besides, Spectres are trouble. I don't like having them around. Call me paranoid. You're paranoid. The council helped fund this project, so it is reasonable to assume that they want to send someone to keep an eye on their investment, said Caden. Yeah, if you believe the official story. But only idiots believe the official story. What do you think, Commander? Joker looked up to Izuku. It does sound rather odd, Caden. Spectres are only sent on missions that could become risk to the galaxy. Izuku agreed with Joker on this one. Alliance reports showed that Spectres were rarely sent on missions, but when they did, it usually followed up with Turian fleets or a big fine from the council. See, even Izuku agrees with me. Come on, you have to admit something is fishy. Joker beamed at the support. Caden shook his head in exasperation as Anderson came on. The comms. Joker. Status report. Just cleared the mass relay, sir. Stealth systems engaged. Everything is green, sir, Joker reported. Good. Find us a comm buoy and link us into the network. I want mission reports relayed to Alliance brass before we reach Eden Prime, Anderson ordered. Aye, sir. You better brace yourself, sir. I think Nihilus is headed your way, said Joker. He is already here. Also tell Midoriya to meet me in the comm room for a debriefing, said Anderson as the line cut off. Sounds like he is angry, Joker muttered. Yeah, I wonder why, Caden-eyed Joker. Izuku shaked his head at the two. Joker, the local conspiracy theorist. And Caden, one of the few people with common sense around here. He left the two of them to their banter as he headed to the comm room. Along the way he met up with Navigator Presley, who shared similar concerns about the mission that Anderson was hiding something from them. It was rather odd seeing Anderson by so hush-hush. The reason he would do so was if there was something big enough that a Spectre was needed. Before entering the comm room he overheard Dr. Chukwas and Jenkins talking. A small part of his mind smiled at the thought of Jenkins. Don't get him wrong, the soldier was a good man, but his name surprised him when he first heard of it. He didn't think someone would name their child after an old internet meme, not that he would ever say that to Jenkins' face. Hey Commander, you have a minute to talk? Jenkins asked. Sure, what is it? I heard that we were going to Eden Prime, but for what reason? Eden Prime is just some dusty the old farming world, and this is coming from someone born there. I was hoping we would be going dangerous and exciting, like the Terminus system. Like taking out a pirate lord or saving a colony, like what you did back on Eligium. Yeah, Eligium. It was weeks after Torfan that he learned how popular he had become. There was already a statue being built in honor of him, and they were even considered a holiday named after him too. That well embarrassing would put it mildly. It was bad enough that Anderson learned seconds after he did, and even worse when his remaining relatives learned about it. Hero of Eligium, the Lion of Eligium, the new poster boy of the Alliance. Say what you will, but he was not a happy camper. Being called a hero for his actions made him confused than anything else. He was a soldier just doing his duty, he was no hero like All Might. I'm sure we will find interesting things later, Jenkins. Besides, if there is one thing you should enjoy before missions is the calm, Midoriya advised. Well, if you say so, sir. The soldier looked a little bummed out, but Chukwas was rather pleased. Both of them knew Jenkins was itching for some sort of action. After saying goodbye, Izuku made his way to the comm room where Nihilus was waiting for him. Nihilus, do you know where Anderson is? He said we wanted to debrief me on something, said Izuku. I've asked Anderson to give us some time to speak. I wanted to ask what you think of Eden Prime. A beautiful garden world and a paradise to some, the Spectre asked as he looked at the pictures of the planet on screen. It looks like a nice place. I have never been there before, so I don't know, he answered honestly. But do you think it is safe? With Batarian pirates on one side and who knows what else on the other, can you really say the Alliance is safe or for any humans in that matter? The Turian pressed. What are you trying to imply? Narrowing his eyes at Nihilus. I'll take it from here, Nihilus. The door opened to show Anderson walking in. Sorry for Nihilus's wording. The reason why I needed to speak to you was important. From the top brass level important. The Council has decided to allow a human to join the Spectres and we decided you to be humanity's candidate. Oh, well that puts things in perspective. He was pretty sure that if it wasn't for his end training he would hyperventilating right now. To be a Spectre, one of the Council nay, the galaxy's best agents was massive honor. And to be the first human inducted. I understand it is a lot to take in Izuku, but the Alliance needs this. Spectres represent the left arm of the Council. They are above the law and can do things everyone can only think about. More importantly, one step closer for humanity to gain a council seat. Nihilus is here to oversee your training, said Anderson. I am honored. I never thought I would be chosen. But why would Nihilus train me? I thought there was still bad blood between us since the first contact war. Izuku asked. Not all of us hates humans. In fact, a good and growing amount of Turians respect your people. Not every day we meet someone that can make our military machine pause. Personally, I find you human interesting and realize one way or another you might be the newest species to join the Council, said Nihilus. I see. So what is the mission anyway, Anderson? Moving back to the main topic. Local farmers uncovered a Prothean beacon and we have been sent to see it transferred over to the Council. I can't stress how important this is. The beacon back on Mars catapulted humanity hundreds of years into the future. Think what a working Prothean beacon could offer, said Anderson. Joker voice came on the comms as the three of them noticed the worry in it. Captain, you may want to see this. The screen in the comm rooms changed as it suddenly showed Eden Prime again. Or it should have been Eden Prime. What they saw was a war zone and the video feed was through a soldier's headcam. Gunfire was the first noticeable thing as an Alliance garrison seemed to fighting some sort of enemy. Blue fire was coming from the enemy. The headcam soldier was pushed to the ground by her commanding officer. Only to stop when a sudden yet horrible screeching noise came out of nowhere. Izuku flinched while Anderson and Nihilus looked tensed, like someone turned on the fight or flight button in them. The gunfire also came to a stop as everyone turned to source. It was a massive ship that resembled a cuttlefish from Earth. Only that it was a menacing dark purple with red lighting coming out. The feed stopped soon after. What in the world was that? Izuku spoke for the three of them. Son, I have no idea what that was. Anderson has seen crazy things in his life, ranging from meeting hostile aliens for the first time to fighting more the darker elements of the Terminus system. But whatever that was, it certainly took the cake. Joker, any status report on the colony? Negative, all battle stations and ships are destroyed, sir. The screen showed the charred wreckage of what was once the colony's defense fleet. Comm buoys are destroyed as well. I've sent a distress call to Alliance Brass and they said they are reading a fleet as we speak. Take us down quietly, Joker. Our mission just got a lot more complicated. And reverse and hold at 38.5. Nihilus, have you seen anything like this? No, this my first time seeing this as well. Do we have any idea how big that ship was? Nihilus said. Analysts are looking at it as well. Speak. Shepard, Nihilus, meet me at the shuttle bay. Triplets. The bay doors of the Normandy opened as the sound of roaring winds swept by them. Izuku, Jenkins, and Caden checked their gear as Nihilus stood next to them. Your mission is to retrieve the beacon no matter the cost. It should be in the dig site. Your HUDs should show the direction, ordered Anderson. What about civilians? Caden asked. Secondary. If you can save them, then do it, but the beacon is your primary objective, Anderson repeated. What about you, Nihilus? You joining with us? Jenkins asked. Sorry, but I work better alone. I'll be doing recon. The Turian jumped out of ship as they landed further away. As the light turned green, all three of them jumped off ship as they saw Eden Prime's sky darken with black smog and red ash, making it look like some hellish nightmare. Izuku looked back at Jenkins to see the boy shocked. A simply pat on the shoulder shook him out as he nodded in thanks. What's that over there? Caden pointed the floating thing near them. That? It's just a gas bag, no need to be scared. They're harmless. Jenkins walked over to it and pushed to the side as it swung gently. See, no problem. You know the best way to the dig site then, Jenkins? Izuku asked. Yep. See that pathway over there, pointing a narrow path the right of them. There is a pathway from there to the dig site. We can reach it in minutes. The two of them followed Jenkins as they made their way to the narrow passing. Jenkins was the first to go as a buzzing sound could be heard and that it was get faster, really faster. Raising his rifle, Izuku yelled for Jenkins to take cover as two oval-shaped drones flew by and shot through his armor. His barriers didn't last for a second as he fell down to the ground. Izuku and Kaden took cover behind the rocks as the drones fired at them. Kaden opened his hands as both drones stopped flying as they were crushed into small ball. Izuku rushed over to Jenkins' body as he tried to find a spot that wasn't burnt flesh. He already knew it, but he had to check no pulse. They tore through his shields like it wasn't there. His own armor is fused to his flesh. I've never seen any gun that can do that, said Kaden. Izuku looked at the crushed drones as his Omni tool scanned them. Whatever they are, the enemy is clear advanced. If I am seeing this right, whatever these drones used, it was some kind of plasma weapon. And what about Jenkins? Activate his suit's beacon. We still have to get the Prothean beacon. The two of them gave a quick pray to Jenkins' corpse before moving on. As they moved deeper, they encountered more drones that were made short work of with Midoriya's tech skills and Kaden's quirk. Once they reached the dig site, they saw a soldier running from humanoid-looking mechs as she hid behind some cover. Before they got to her, she clenched her fist and slammed it into the earth as it cracked open and swallowed the mechs. More mechs came after her as he and Kaden helped make short work of them. Once the last of them died, he turned to the women who looked surprised at see them. I'm Commander Midoriya, an N7 combat engineer. What's your name, soldier? Said Izuku. Gunnery Chief Ashley Williams of the 2nd Frontier Division. Sir, Williams said as she saluted the man. At ease, soldier. Do you know anything about these enemies? Pointing to the downed mech. Sir. That was what our scanners were telling us. Geth? Commander, the Geth haven't left the Perseus Vale for over 300 years. Why would they be leaving now? Looking shocked at the very idea of Geth attacking Eden Prime. They must be after the beacon. Gunnery Chief, do you know where the Prothean beacon is? We need to get to the dig site as fast as possible, Midoriya ordered. Close by, sir. She pointed to the excavation equipment close by. And sir, is possible to join up with you? Those BSTRDS killed my men and I want payback for it. Give my any gun and I'll make it sing, sir, plus I know how to use my quirk. I'll take any help I can get, Ashley. But before we go, it is important to know two things. One is that our primary objective is to get the Prothean beacon. We will try to save as many as we can. The beacon come before that all. Second, I need to know your quirk, Izuku ordered. I understand, sir. My quirk is seismic shock. It lets me create tears into the ground and localized earthquakes. The biggest I can make can swallow a whole person, Ashley explained. Nodding his head, he motioned both to follow him as they made their way to the dig site. There they saw the mining equipment as well as the dead scientists that were working there. A quick check showed they were shot, same type of burns as well. There was no sight of the beacon as Ashley pointed out it could be at the spaceport and that there was tram line nearby. As they double-timed it, they were stopped by more Geth, but the three of them were to destroy them all with ease, making sure to take cover the minute they hit their shields. As they made to the tram line, a shot rang out as they were one guard. Izuku tried to raise Nihilus for any answers but got only static. Making their way down, it was Ashley that pointed to what they saw next. It was the colonist impaled on massive spike, if you can them human. The spikes lowered as the dead bodies moved and they saw what happened to them. Their bodies looked dehydrated as glowing blue cybernetics were grafted all across their body. Bone was replaced with tubing and their skin was gray like some dunked them in bleach. What remained of their skin looked like it was struggling to hold itself together. And the miming whatever it was no longer human. Blast them! The three of them unloaded everything they had into the husks as it became clear they had barriers as well. One of them got closer to Ashley and before it died the creature screamed out and a pulse of energy came out. His HUD showed her shields and weapons overloaded as an incinerate finished it off. It was only after all of them shot the bodies a few more times did they approach the husk. The Geth did this? Izuku was not sure if he should horrified or furious or both. Both sounded good right now. Scanners showed nearly every part of these husks' bodies were covered in cybernetics. The only parts that were not were its brain, heart, and skin. Oh God, were these? I think I'm going to be sick. Ashley moved away from the husk as her face turned green. They look like some kind of husk. Why would the Geth even do this? Save for shock tactics? Caden asked aloud, looking no better than Ashley. I don't know if the Geth made this, Caden. If my scans are right, this thing has a bigger Izo core than the other Geth do, and whatever cybernetics this thing had, no other Geth had it. You think they would install this onto themselves than on a corpse? Regardless, we can't do anything now. Scanners are showing 3 people in the prefab building, said Izuku as he pointed to the home. He ordered Caden and Ashley to the side as his Omni tool hovered over the door. A few seconds later, the lock glitched out before turning green as it opened, and they heard the cries, human cries. Inside the building were civilians, farmers if he had to guess from the clothing and dirt. W8. Please don't shoot, we're just framers. His team put their guns away. It's all right, I'm Commander Midoriya of the Alliance. Oh, thank God the Alliance is here to save us. Is it safe outside? One farmer asked. I've killed the remaining Geth, but it might be safer if you stay in here for now. Can any of you tell what happened here? Asked Izuku. Barely, we were just finishing up for the day when this horrible booming sound came out of nowhere. Then that giant squid ship came down and Geth coming out with it. When the fighting started, we ran inside and locked the door. I thought if we were quiet they would ignore us, the lead man said. It was horrible, like someone was using nails to scratch a window, one farmer added. Did any of you hear where the gunfire came from? It was a single shot, couldn't miss it, Izuku asked. Yeah, not too far from here. Take the steps up and should meet Cole's smuggler. Cole hit the farmer's side. Smuggler? Tell me about this smuggler. Keep anything out and you will be finding Alliance agents knocking on your door after this, he warned. Alright, his name is Powell and he is a smuggler that works in the spaceport. Ever so while Powell sells us guns that are shipped here. He's not a bad guy and the weapons we get are nowhere near military grade. Cole explained. The man pulled out the gun to show proof. Looking at it was clear that the gun was a civilian model. Keep it, but keep the safety one all right and stay here until someone things are cleared, Izuku ordered. Sir? Shouldn't we take the gun as evidence? Ashley asked. No time, the beacon is our primary concern, he said. As they arrived to the tram rail, they were greeted by a grisly sight. It was Nihilus and blood coming from his corpse. Clean shoot, odd, it's like whoever shot him bypassed his barriers too, said Caden to check on the corpse. So either someone has made a gun that bypassed barriers or someone got close, really close to him. But why would Nihilus let someone get that close to him unless the two of them turned to see Ashley holding her gun at some crates ordering someone to move. A little bit later someone walked out, a dock worker. Are you going to shoot me? The man squeaked. Are you Powell? If you are, some of your farmer friends told me about you, said Izuku. They did? Well, not like it matters anyway. Yeah, I did see the Turian Nihilus talking to another Turian, someone called Saren. Whoever he was, that Nihilus guy put his guard down as Saren took his gun out and shot him, said Powell. And you were just hiding here? No one saw you or anything. No, this is look, sometimes when I work I need to take a nap, so I hide behind the crate when supervisor isn't looking and take 40 winks, said Powell. So you're saying the only reason you're alive was because you were lazy? Ashley said with clenched teeth. Izuku blocked Ash with his hand as he turned back to Powell asking for more information. The man explained that where the beacon was kept as Izuku pressed him for more info on his smuggling operation. Powell explained they used to smuggle some mods and a few guns. The Geth killed all of his buddies and he handed the last mod he had. Chief Williams looked ready to sock the man before they had to move. Along the way more Geth continued to block their path as they saw one large one staying and kept creating combat drones to occupy them. Izuku ordered Caden to use his quirk as started throwing Geth off the tram. The big Geth changed its tactics as it sudden charged at them, faster than it should have been. It was thanks to Ashley's use of her quirk that shook the tram, making the Geth Prime stop. Caden used his quirk to slowly down as the Prime continued to move, but far slower than before. He and Ash dealt with it as a grenade and sustained gunfire brought it down. They went up to the front and activated the tram. 20 minutes later they saw a Geth kneeling over a bomb as they approached the station. Izuku wasted no time and pulled out his Mantis sniper rifle. The single-shot sniper blew a hole through the Geth's head. "Sheet, Caden, Ashley, cover me," as Geth attacked them. Going over the bomb, he looked at the panel the Geth was looking at. The internal circuitry was rather crude and something you see pirates using it was shoddy work at best. Whoever made this was not worrying about someone tampering with it. Pulling some wires back, the big thermonuclear bomb inside explained why. Once he disabled the bomb, he adjusted his scanners to pick up more nuclear bombs. His HUD showed 4 more around here. And all of them were using a single countdown timer. "They're all thermonuclear bombs. Don't shot at them." His team looked shocked as they double-timed it. Both Omni tools were activated as he chained Overload, Cryoblast, and Incinerate together, freezing and burning Geth simultaneously, stabbing a few with his Omni blades. Caden and Ashley used their quirks and own skills to assist the N7. Getting to each bomb and disabling them was a harrowing experience as the Geth made it their job to make things even worse. Only this time it was Geth and Husk attacking them. They couldn't use their grenades of heavier weapons without sending the colony to nuclear hell. As the last of the Geth fell down dead, the final bomb froze at 00 any longer and they may all died. Why is every mission since Eligium been one adrenaline ride to the next? Izuku slid down next to the bomb, panting and looking ready to call it a day. "Is it really like this with you, Commander?" Ashley asked, wiping Geth coolant off her armor. "You get used to it after a while." "I think Izuku got it from Commander Anderson. Now there is a guy who attracts trouble." Caden wiped the sweat off his brow. Izuku shook his head and went over to the Prothean beacon. The beacon pulsated with green energy as lines green data could be seen, flowing, on the sides of it. Izuku called for the Normandy as Ashley walked closer to the beacon. As she walked closer, the beacon glowed as her body was grabbed by an invisible force. She yelled for help as both men ran after her. "Caden, quirk now!" Midoriya yelled as he grabbed Ashley. The man tried to pull them back but found himself struggling against the beacon as it only pulled harder back. Seeing this, Izuku pushed Ashley away as the beacon lifted him up. Then the pain began. Images burned into his mind as he could hear scream, gunfire, and a horrible screeching sound. Red beams of energy fell from the sky as he saw insect-like people running for their lives. The last thing he remembered was Caden slamming his Omni tool on the beacon, causing it to shut down as darkness took his mind. XXX Normandy XXX. Izuku's eyes snapped open as he got up. Eyes blinking around as he realized he was back on the Normandy's medical bay. Rubbing his eyes, he had to blink a few more times. Grabbing on the breath he was on to make sure this was all real. Feeling everything to be solid and not some horrible nightmare, he fell back. A little later, Anderson entered. "Take it easy, son. You're safe now," said Anderson, walking up to the commander. "Anderson? I feel like someone threw a brick at my head," he hissed through clenched teeth. "You should be lucky you're alive at all. When we got to you, were mumbling something half the time or screaming the other half. We had to hold you down as Chukwas administered sedatives to you. She said you were in some kind of coma, and I was this far from deciding to send you back to Arcturus to mental treatment. They have quirk users that can go into your mind." The man nearly touched his index finger and thumb to make the point. "How long was I out?" 5 whole days. We've been here in Eden Prime so far. The Alliance has locked down the planet and is conducting a full investigation. The arrival of the Geth has put the brass in panic, and even Council is helping in the investigation. As for the beacon, it is still in the Normandy. Until High Command gives the go, the beacon stays with us, said Anderson. Wouldn't the Council be mad that we are holding it? They have more bigger issues to deal with. We've been looking over the security feeds and testimonies from the locals. We think Saren Arterius killed Nihilus and lead the Geth attack here. He noted the sudden bitter tone in the captain's words. That name sounded familiar and had to rack his mind until it hit him why it was. Saren Arterius was a Spectre, the #1 Spectre and Council's top field agent, and a very well-known anti-human supporter. If the Turian had really led the attack on Eden Prime, one of the Alliance's core colonies, it would cause shockwaves. Are you sure, sir? If the Council finds him not guilty, he refused to follow that train of thought. I am certain of it, son. I've seen the evidence and I know how Saren works. He will gladly destroy entire colonies if it meant the mission succeeds. Udina is already lining up the evidence and the trial will begin soon. You and I have been ordered to come to the trial as well, said Anderson. Understood, sir. By the way, did anything else happen when I was out? I decided to bring Gunner Chief Williams with us. From what the combat videos show, she can handle herself in a fight. We need every good soldier if we are going after the Geth. Outside of that, nothing else. Chukwas herself soon entered as she gave the captain an annoyed glance and turned back to Izuku. Anderson, I believe I told you not to enter the medical bay until I finished checking up on the commander. The captain must have found something really interesting on the ground as his attention was everywhere but at the doctor. Grumbling to herself, touched the commander's forehead as her quirk medic sight went to work. Using her quirk, the doctor was able to see the problems in her patients, from it being a common cold to a developing tumor. Once she was down, moved away from Izuku, writing something on her data pad. Well, you seem to be in perfect health, Commander. The only thing odd is the increase in brain activity, specifically the ones involving dreams. That was no dream I had. It was a nightmare. I saw aliens running from something. Buildings were burning as something was gunning them all down, said Izuku. Interesting. I would say more rest is needed, as you are right now the only person who has interfaced with a working beacon and survived. We have no idea what the beacon shoved into your head, said Chukwas. I am. The only way the galaxy has been able to get data from the Prothean beacons is through computer interface. There have been papers explaining that the beacon uses some kind of direct neural interface, but it has never been proven until now. But what matters now is having some good rest. I am allowing you to walk around the ship, but I want no strenuous actions, she explained. After a while, the doctor allowed him out of the medical bay, where decided to check on the rest of the crew. Ashley was the first one, as she showed real gratitude for being accepted her, and personally he felt like she deserved it. The woman was far more skilled with a rifle than he or Caden anticipated, and she clearly training with her quirk. Outside of making things were all right with her, he checked up on Caden. He had met Lieutenant when he was stationed on the Normandy and only knew his records. He was part of the Sentinel Corps, a branch of Marines that focused on using tech and quirks abilities together. He had served in the Marines for many years, and his commanding officers had nothing but praise for him. The only thing that stopped him was his EZO condition. After talking with him, Joker came on the comms. They had arrived at the Citadel. Everyone nearby rushed over to the pilot seat as Widow Nebula opened up to show the Citadel. The massive 44-kilometer space station rotated gently as everyone looked at awe. They all had seen videos of the place, but nothing came close to seeing the real deal. The nebula added to its beauty, creating an almost mysterious feeling around it, and light coming form made it like you were entering into a portal. After that came the Citadel Defense Fleet, more important, the flagship. The Destiny Ascension. Dim in. Look at the size of its guns. It could tear through an entire Alliance fleet alone. Caden gasped. The ship was 1.6 kilometers long, and unlike other dreadnoughts, its main gun was in fact 4 smaller ones that combined proved to be devastating. Please, you need more than guns to make a ship dangerous, said Joker as he eyed the ship with disdain. Well, I heard it is commanded by an Asari, you know, the aliens that live for over 1,000 years? Or are you just jealous you weren't picked? Izuku joked as he looked at the ship. Maybe, the pilot answered as he began docking procedures. Soon enough the Normandy docked, and they had finally arrived at the Citadel. Coming to the Citadel was awe-inspiring, and rightly so. It was one of the largest and few remaining working relics created by the Protheans. Once they had docked, Anderson had him, Caden, and Ashley come with him to see Udina. When they arrived to the human embassies, they found the human ambassador talking with the council via holograph comms. Ambassador Udina, we understand your frustration at the situation, and we have already dispatched multiple teams to investigate this incident. What happened at Eden Prime was a disaster, the Asari counselor calmly replied. A disaster? One of our core colonies has been attacked by the Geth of all things. On top of that, they had the gall to desecrate our dead into those husk. And to make it worse, the mastermind behind is hiding behind your protection. Udina growled as the man's face was flushed red. Saren is one of our top agents and most loyal one. No matter his opinion on humans, the man would never attack, and never on such a horrific level, the Turian counselor argued. We will discuss more of this later at the trial. Ambassador, the Solarian counselor ended as all three of them winked out. Didn't go so well? Anderson assumed. The council refused to even acknowledge that Saren was responsible. They have opened an investigation, but they want CSEC to have it done in 2 weeks. The ambassador leaned back in chair. 2 weeks? That was barely enough time to get anything done, and with an investigation this big, Izuku frowned. Would the council even acknowledge the evidence they have, or would they just throw it all under the floor? Is there anything we can do, Ambassador? Can you get a shipload of evidence and dump it on the council's doorstep? The man raised his brow before sighing. No, you four have already done what you can. I've already received your accounts and have my people working on the case. The only thing I am unsure of is bringing Anderson into this given your history with Saren. Wait, you have a history with Saren? Caden asked. Anderson then explained his past with Saren as well, him being a Spectre candidate before Izuku. Saren was his advisor as the two went to deal with a mission. Suffice to say, during the mission Anderson was given a close-up of the sheer brutality. Saren was willing to go if it meant to finish the mission. It was one thing to do what needs to be done, but it was another to not even consider other options. That was what kind of person Saren was. After that, Udina ordered the three of them to leave as he and Anderson finished hammering out their case. Once they left the embassies, they found themselves staring at the artificial lake as people passed by. So what now, sir? Ashley asked. We can't let that Saren get away like this. Saren is their top agent, remember? Any evidence we find will be hard-pressed to prove. They're politicians first before anything else, and will do all they can have no blame placed on them. Besides, where are we supposed to find more evidence? Caden replied. Well, we aren't doing it here, pushing off the railing. Come on, there has to be clues we can use around here. Looking at his Omni tool, he checked to see who was supposed to investigate Saren, and after a little bit it showed one Gurus Vicarian, an experienced CSEC detective, and the man had a long line of solved cases to prove his worth. Calling a cab, they made their way to CSEC headquarters, where they hoped to find Gurus and possibly help him with the Saren case. Entering into the headquarters, they were given an interesting sight. It was Gurus himself pleading with another Turian, and as they got closer, Izuku heard what they were saying. Please, Pillin, I just need more time. I'm close to cracking this case. If you can just stall the council, Gurus pleaded. Stall the council? I'm sorry, but the time I have given you is all that you have. Just get everything in order before the trial starts. All right, Pillin answered as he left the frustrated Turian alone. I'm sorry to bother, but you're Gurus Vicarian, correct? My name is Izuku Midoriya, and I was at Eden Prime when the Geth hit, introducing himself. You have the right person. Sorry about that argument. I was hoping I could get some more time to nail that bare-faced BSUD for good. I saw the pictures on what happened on Eden Prime, and you have my sincere apology, Gurus said as he raised his arm out. Izuku returned it as the two shook their hands. Why do you hate Saren? Isn't he one of your people and the council's top Spectre to boot? Ashley had to ask. Because Saren is a monster that is out of control. He may be one my own kind, but that man is one step away from treason. I have seen some of his cases and the body count is too high. The only reason I can't lock him up behind bars is because of his Spectre status, Gurus hotly replied. Then will you help us stop Saren? Izuku asked. The man looked to the sides before motioning them to follow. The group made their way to Gurus's office. The room was cluttered with datapads, pictures pinned onto a corkboard, as many of them connected back to a big picture of Saren and others had question marks labeled on. We can talk more here. It is one of the few places that I trust no matter what, Gurus explained as he pulled up his computer. I've been trailing Saren's financial records, or what's not hidden behind his Spectre status, all the purchases he made in last few years, where he used his Spectre credentials, and where he was before turning off his transponder. And what have you found? Concerning, the man has been making erratic and odd purchases over the last few years as it keep ramping up before stopping altogether. It ranges from weapons purchases to mercs, only to stop at cybernetics. He is also getting money from some third-party source too. All I know of them is that they rich, very rich. His transponder is also acting odd in the same regard. There are more instances of him simply going off the grid before appearing back, Gurus listed off. Anything that can help us? Said Caden. Nothing immediately. However, there is one source of info I haven't gone over yet. There is a banker on the Presidium near the consort's office. He is a Volus that goes by the name Barlavon. And he is an agent of the Shadow Broker, Gurus said. That was something unexpected. Izuku knew of the Shadow Broker from Spec Ops debriefings, a powerful information broker who has been around for hundreds of years, and to this day no one knows what it looks like. And that is assuming it is a single person at all. If anyone would have more info, it would certainly be the Shadow Broker, but that made him hesitate more. There was a reason the Shadow Broker was feared. The price of info was high and the broker always made sure he got his due plus interest. Are you sure we should go meet with him? You should know the price of the broker's info, Izuku warned. It is the best lead we got. I don't like it as much as you do, but I have hit a wall on my side. Gurus understood the N7's worries, but the Turian was desperate and had no other options left. Alright, send me the address. Me and my team will investigate it. Do you want to come with us? Said Izuku. Thank you, but I have to pass. Need to finish compiling all this paperwork before the trial starts, he apologized. Leaving his office, the team made their way back to the Presidium, where they made their way to Vaughn's office. As they entered, Izuku approached the man's secretary, where the women did not even wait. Informing him that her boss was already waiting for them, warning bells rang off in his head as he opened the door. A part of him cursed at the fact he had to leave most of his weapons and armor back on the ship. Opening the door, Izuku was greeted with a Volus that was typing on his computer. Commander Midoriya, you must be here for the information on Saren, correct? The Volus wheezed. And you must be Barlavon, agent of the Shadow Broker, he replied back. You are very astute, Commander. That is a very good sign, Commander. To many people shoot first before asking question. A real shame it is, but I digress. I know that you are looking for any information on Saren. Look for a Dr. Michelle in Wards. She owns a clinic there. I have received reports that Aquarian with info on Saren was staying there, Vaughn explained. And what's the cost? Nothing. Izuku raised his brow at the answer. I understand that you may be surprised, but Saren has recently betrayed the Shadow Broker, and because of that the broker is willing to offer aid to bring him down. Oh, and the broker has recently hired a Krogan mercenary going by the name Erdnot Rex. He is yours to use if you are going after Saren. Izuku nodded his head as he left back with his team, as well as informing Gurus where to go. He explained the situation as they made their way through the Citadel, but on the trip he couldn't help but think back on what Vaughn said. To betray the largest private information broker in the galaxy was no easy feat. What could have made someone like him do it, and did it have any connection to that Geth as well as that massive ship? XXX Clinic XXX. Gurus, do you read me? Gurus? Gurus, we are approaching the clinic. Izuku heard no response from the Turan and prayed nothing happened to the man. The clinic was deep in the wards as they made their way through a few stores that caught the team's eyes. You think we will find any trouble, Commander? Caden asked. With Saren, who knows, Izuku replied. Wish I brought my weapons with me. I don't think my quirk will be any use here, sir, unless you want to explain why there was an earthquake happening on the station, Ashley sighed. But before she do anything else, she felt something poking at her side and turned to see a handgun as Izuku offered it to her. Anderson said we couldn't bring any guns issued from the military. This is privately owned, said Izuku. A big thing they learned in N school was always carry a gun with you if the situation approves of it. And the Citadel had rather lax laws on gun regulation. Ashley gave a grateful nod as she took a side on the door as Caden followed. Opening the door, he saw Gurus behind the counter, holding a finger to his mouth. Behind he saw some mercs holding the doctor at gunpoint as they threatened to kill her. One of them called out and pointed at Izuku as Gurus acted. Coming out from behind, he fired his sniper into man in the back as Izuku formed a Omni shield, running over the doctor and protecting her. He ordered Caden to put the remaining mercs in lockdown with his quirk. Ash and Gurus finished up the remaining gunmen save for one. Dr. Michelle, are you alright? I am Commander Midoriya from the Alliance, helping the scared women up. Thank you, Commander. If you and your friends hadn't saved me, right? She shivered at the thought. But what does the Alliance want with me? I'm just a simple doctor working in the wards. We have information that you recently taken care of Aquarian here and we need to know where she is, fast. Her life is at stake here, Doctor. Aquarian? There was Aquarian here recently. Poor girl's suit was riddled with bullets like she just came out of a firefight. She was delirious, talking about Geth, someone call Saren, and some other nonsense. I gave her painkillers, antibiotic pills, and immunoboosters to help her get back to full strength before she thanked me and left, Michelle explained. When was that? Gurus butted in. Just yesterday. Do you know where she is going? Bars, homeless shelters, a local Quarian conclave, the Turian pressed. She said that she was staying at a homeless shelter as well, going to talk to Fist. Fist is the owner of the Korra's Den. It's a nightclub here in the lower wards, you can't miss the signs, she said. Well, we know where to go now. Come on, I can show us where to go, Gurus offered. Grabbing the Mercs guns, they followed after the CSEC officer as they made their way down. As they reached the nightclub, the sound of a shotgun went off and everyone went on alert. Moving closer, they saw Krogan in red armor pressing his feet on a Turian as his shotgun was cooling. Izuku carefully approached the Korgan as his team readied their guns for the slightest sign of aggression. Who are you? Name's Erdnot Rex. What do you want, human? The Krogan gave a glance. Rex? You're the one the Shadow Broker hired, Barlavon told me about you. Look, we don't have much time, we need to get to Korra's den and to Fist. Now, said Izuku, eyeing the Krogan. Rex blew the Turian's head off before speaking. Fine with me, just know that the broker hired me to kill Fist. None of them wasted time as they marched over the Korra's den, where they opened the door to see everybody in the room turn their gun at them. An Omni shield absorbed the initial fire as Rex charged in there as his body glowed and biotics formed a protective barrier around himself. As he charged in, the Krogan fired his gun, making room for the others to come in safely. As they did, they fired at the gunmen on the dance decks and those that Rex did not focus on. From the back, another Krogan came out and charged at Rex. However, that attempt was a stop when the Krogan became engulfed in flames. Courtesy of Izuku's Omni tool, the Krogan yelled out in horror and pain before Rex put him down for good. A nod of appreciation to the N7. The rest of the part were no slouches either, as Gurus used his tech skills to overload the guards' shields and overheat their guns. Caden and Ash used their quirks and gun skill respectively to put down the remaining guards that tried to flee. Once they were all dead, Izuku opened the door where two workers pulled out their guns. One look showed that these men were not trained and looked like they will hurt themselves than anything else. Stop, move any closer and we will shot. I don't need to tell you what happened out there. Do you really want to do this? Izuku pointed to the back door and then to the rest of his team. You know what, I never liked Fist in the first place. Yeah, you go show him what for. The two workers ran from the scene as they all moved into Fist's office. As they entered inside, they saw the man panic as he pressed a button on his desk as two turrets popped out and fired at him. The man himself hid behind his desk and took the occasional pot shot. The turrets themselves went down rather quick with Gurus and Izuku's combined tech abilities. As the last one short-circuited and blew up, Izuku marched up to Fist, who tried to shot him but failed when Izuku slapped the gun out of his hand. A punch to gut and face had him down as multiple barrels looked down on him. Where is the Quarian Fist? Izuku ordered. Quarian, I don't know what you're talking about. You sick bastards were the ones that barged into my establishment. You'll all be behind bars when my lawyer learns about this. Fist replied with a mask of false bravado. Here, this usually works. Rex moved Izuku aside and put his leg on Fist's leg before pushing down and twisting it hard. Fist's screams quickly turned into a squeal as he started begging for it stop. After a few more minutes, Rex let go of the pressure. All right. Aquarian did come here a while ago, said she had info that the Shadow Broker may be interested in and that she knew I worked for him, or well, I used to. Said she wanted to meet with the Shadow Broker face to face. Impossible. The Shadow never meets anyone face to face. Even I was hired through his associates, Rex interrupted. Well, I didn't tell her that. So I told her that I could arrange a meeting in back of the wards. I told Saren about the info and sent out assassins. If you go now, you can save her. There, that is all I know. Will you let me live? Said Fist. His answer was Rex's shotgun as his head exploded like a watermelon. The answer is no, said Rex. Double time it, people. Izuku ordered everyone to sprint to the back of the wards. Running out of the nightclub, Gurus lead them to where Fist would have set up the meeting, and they all saw the Quarian talking to some people before slapping a Turian's hand off. 2 Solarians walked up as she threw a grenade at them and jumped behind cover. Izuku and his team made short work of the assassins, as none of them expected to deal with commando-level enemies. As they finished off the last of the mercs, the Quarian turned to her savior. The first thing the N7 noted was the posture of the Quarian. It was clear this was not her first firefight, but neither was she used to it. She held her shotgun too tightly and her legs were shaking a bit. Also, she was not subtle when one of her hands moved to a pouch, most likely holding her grenades. I am Izuku Midoriya from the Systems Alliance. We know that you have intel on Saren. We had gotten info from Fist about this setup and came as fast we could. The Quarian's bioluminescent narrowed at the mention of Fist, that Bashtet. I knew I shouldn't have trusted him. Ancestors, what was I thinking trusting an agent of the Shadow Broker? If it makes you feel better, Fist wasn't working for the broker, he was working for Saren. Please, if you still have the data, we could use it badly, Izuku pleaded. Fine, but only if you get me somewhere safely. But if you're lying about being in the Alliance, she pointed her shotgun at him. In return, Izuku showed his identification signature as it showed him and his various public achievements. Seeing that he was the real deal, she put her shotgun away and followed him. XXX Human Embassies XXX. Firefights in the wards, the death of multiple people as well as a local crime lord. What in the world were you thinking, Commander? Udina demanded as his expression turned to surprised when he saw the Quarian enter. Helping you find evidence on Saren. This is Tali, someone that has info that can help us in the case against Saren, Izuku explained as he let her speak. Is that true, young lady? You have knowledge on Saren? Udina asked. I do. A few weeks ago, me and my friends were staying on a freighter when Geth attacked. A lot of people died, and some of my friends included. I tried hacking onto the Geth hoping to get some data for my pilgrimage when I saw this packet of data go through local Geth networks. She then played the message. Saren Prophet, all preparations have been made for the assault on Eden Prime, said a Geth. Excellent. When we arrive on the colony, we are to find the Prothean beacon at all cost. No else is to touch, at least they gain the knowledge of the Reapers. After that, destroy the colony. I want no trace that we were there, Saren's voice came out. Your reports showed that Nyla Spectre and David Anderson will be going to Eden Prime as well. Nihilus is too trusting of me, I can handle him easily. As for Anderson, well, I dealt with him once before, it shouldn't be too hard to put him down again. Have Matriarch Benezia make sure of our first batch is ready. The message stopped after that as nobody else talked. Udina was in deep thought as Anderson glared at where the message played, clenching his hand tightly. A few moments later, Udina spoke again. This is unexpected news, not bad news, anyone mind you. But how can we verify it? The data packet uses Geth encryption and protocols, more advanced than what was used in the Morning War, still works on the same principle. And if you are worrying that the Geth may be lying, don't be. Geth may be artificial intelligent, but they can't lie, it is impossible. They work off ones and zeros. The minute they try to lie about anything at all, it will cause a cascading effect that could result major program lost for the Geth, Tali assured the ambassador. What, this Reaper? Izuku had to ask. That? Well, from the Geth's databank, apparently they believe to be some kind of highly advanced artificial intelligence that destroyed the Protheans 50,000 years ago, sighed Tali. Let's keep that part out for now. The last thing we need is the council thinking we're a bunch of lunatics, Udina advised. Still, this was surprisingly good work coming from you, Commander. However, next time do please inform me when you're about to do something crazy like this. Anderson, come with me, we have a lot more work now. XXX Council Chambers XXX. Have they started already? Izuku asked as he tugged on his official uniform. Just now, Commander. Come on, let's not waste any time, said Anderson as the two walked the chambers to see the three counselors stand on their podiums as they looked over the evidence from the human embassy. On the side was a large hologram of Saren himself. The rest of his team was waiting at the embassy. It is clear that under the ascension process the council will bring you aid and promise to further investigate why the Geth attacked the Systems Alliance. However, that does not give you room to accuse one of our best agents, Counselor Spiratus replied harshly. Thank you, Counselor. I think it is fair to say this entire trial is nothing more than a sham, so why even further bother, said Saren. I would hold your horses if I were you, Saren, Anderson called out. Anderson? Of course you would be in this trial too. It is not enough that the human ambassador accuses me, but also bringing in the one person who holds a strong bias against me. Are we to even trust any evidence from this man who couldn't even make to being a Spectre? For all we know he have tampered with the evidence, Saren argued. Then you don't have to worry about that. I'm not part of this trial. Izuku, the captain, made way for his protege. Izuku Midoriya, Anderson's protege. What could you? I wish to bring up our first piece of evidence, Nihilus's armor reports. All armor that uses kinetic barriers keep digital logs one of what happens with the armor so repairs can be made quickly and any possible problems are found out before they become a threat to the user. When we look Nihilus's armor reports, we see nothing about his barriers, and yet he was shot in the head, Izuku interrupted. It was agreed beforehand that they needed to keep Saren from making any counterpoints to the council. Keep him off track and try to stop him whenever he tried to speak. If they find a weakness in his armor, go for it and tear him a new one. The only way for Nihilus to be killed and his armor show no reports is that someone had to get under his barriers. The killer had to get Nihilus to lower his guard and long enough to shoot him in the back. As a Spectre, Nihilus would never lower his guard for just anybody. It had to be somebody he trusted like a friend. Well, it is that or someone has discovered a means of completely bypassing barriers altogether, said Izuku. And who said it could be me? For all we know, your people were working with him. Perhaps one of your agents decided to end him. I know many humans have grudge against Turians. Plus, what if it could be advanced weapons? The Geth have been isolated for years. They had plenty of time to advance their technology, argued Saren. Only that is impossible. For one, every person in the Normandy was pre-screened before they entered, and Alliance intelligence triple-checked their backgrounds, and mandatory psych evaluations made sure all crew members were fit and able. Regardless of their beliefs, every person on board was professional and would not let their emotion to control them. Secondly, the Geth, while advanced, do not have weapons capable of bypassing kinetic barriers. If you read the reports, it is clear that the Geth possess plasma-based weaponry, but even plasma would cause the armor to log it, and that was not including the massive spikes in heat alone. If Nihilus was shot by a Geth-made weapon, his head should be a paste of superheated flesh. In fact, our reports show that Nihilus was shot by a particular type of gun. A heavy pistol, to be exact. Alliance intelligence and STG reports showed it may have been from the Carnifex line of guns, Izuku calmly explained. On top of that, we also have video evidence of the attack, which might I add was approved to be authentic by the STG themselves, sighed Udina next, making sure to look at the Solarian counselor to make his point. He then showed the council the video. The Geth had tried to delete as much evidence of their arrival, but the Alliance was able to recover most of it. The video showed Nihilus as he reached the trams, where it showed another Turian. Unfortunately, where his face was supposed to be, it was blurred. The Geth made sure to keep Saren's face from the screen. The words were garbled, but it showed Nihilus letting guard down as the other Turian raised a gun and shot him in the head. Looking at the counselors, they all were surprised as Counselor Spiratus looked the most distressed. The look of betrayal and hurt in his eyes. As for Saren himself, that Turian was frozen like a rock. The only sign of reaction was the slight twitch in his hand. Izuku looked over to Gurus and gave a nod to him. Counselors, before any of you argue that it could have been some different Turian, I want to point out said Turian in the video has a rare pigmentation mutation resulting in the albino coloring. It is very rare and only appears in 1 out of 1,000,000 people. I checked the Spectre logs for any Turian with the pigmentation. My reports showed a handful of Turian Spectres. Furthermore, look at his face and what he is lacking. Do you see it? He has no colony markings. No good Turian goes without one, and when I added it to the search, I got a single Turian who has both the albino mutation and lack of colony markings. Saren Arterius. Gurus pointed his talon at the Spectre. As Saren was about to open his mouth, Izuku beat him to it. Counselors, there is one more source of evidence I wish to bring up. Talizora and Araya. Izuku helped Tali to the stage. Stay by her side. A suit rat? You're bringing a suit rat as evidence. Saren scoffed. This suit rat is also one of the best experts in dealing with the Geth, said Izuku. Yes, and her people unleashed this mechanical plague on us. Besides, we have experts such as synthetic insights. Synthetic insights is a joke, and anyone with a decent knowledge of programming can attest to that. Besides, while Tali's people may have created the Geth, they have spent 300 years trying to rectify their mistake. 300 years of research against synthetic enemies. The Quarian people are by far the most well-equipped group when it comes to the Geth. I wouldn't have anyone else dealing with this enemy than them, said Izuku. The commander is right. The Quarian people have more experience than anyone else in the galaxy. Anderson sided with Izuku. Standing in front of the counselors, Tali opened up the recording from the Geth Corps. Saren, where were you when Eden Prime was attacked? Counselor Spiratus demanded. You can't expect me to divulge my mission in front of everyone, sir? I don't care. Why were you at Eden Prime when it was attacked? The counselor demanded, ignoring the shocked looks from the others. I cannot say. Saren Arterius, Counselor Spiratus is giving you an order. As a council Spectre, you are to obey our orders, Valorn said. The Spectre did not reply as he typed something on his Omni tool. Window broke on Saren's end as armed Solarians entered in and shot him, only for it to hit nothing, another hologram. Saren looked at them all with newfound disdain before winking out. The Solarians noted the signal was untraceable. It seems that in light of new evidence, Saren Arterius is in fact guilty of the crime of attacking Eden Prime. He will be stripped of his Spectre status and will labeled as a wanted fugitive, said Tevos. That's it? Saren is wanted fugitive and all you did was give him a slap on the wrist. Send in your fleets. Udina roared. And cause a potential war with the Terminus system? That is out of the question, Ambassador, said Counselor Spiratus. Then I see what this council really is then. We have a name for people who claim they are the strongest and yet cower at the face of action, a paper tiger. This entire council is nothing more than a paper tiger. I ask not the counselors but to all species hearing this trial. It is clear that the council will not act in the face of treason or a Geth attack. How can anyone place trust in an institution that does nothing in the face of blatant crimes, whose first reaction to the Geth is bend over? How long will it be till the council decided to hand the keys to the Citadel if it means it saves their seats? How long before Kaj, Irun, or even Dekuna falls to our future synthetic overlords? Or how long before we all go the way like the Quarians? The System Alliance has time and time again asked for the help, Minder, Eligium, and now Eden Prime? For too long have we asked for help and yet received none. If the council will do nothing, then we will. I am done with this anti-human bull, Udina cried out. Ambassador, perhaps there is a way to solve this peacefully, Tevos intervened. She looked to remaining counselors. Valorn understood and nodded in agreement. Spiratus looked like he wanted to argue, but Tevos sent a glare to him that cowed the Turian commander Izuku Midoriya. It is within the power of the council to grant you the rank of Spectre and bring humanity one step closer to being a council member. Everyone looked shocked at the news, and no more so was Izuku. To become a Spectre, the first of humanity, was the highest honor anyone could hope for. Udina acted first, pulling everyone away as Izuku made his way up. Spectres are not trained, but chosen. Individuals forged in the fire of service and battle, those whose actions lift them above the rank and file. Spectres are an ideal, a symbol, the embodiment of courage, determination, and self-reliance. They are the right hand of the council, instruments of our will. Spectres bear a great burden. Both our first and last line of defense, the safety of the galaxy, is theirs to uphold. Commander Midoriya, you have been given a great honor and represent all of humanity, Tevos spoke. I am honored, Counselor, Izuku bowed. We will begin searching for any leads onto Saren and will inform you whenever there is news, Valorn answered. Izuku was about to leave when he heard a surprise call from Udina. The man was talking through his Omni tool as his face looked shocked. A few minutes it became resigned as he approached the council once again. Counselors, I must ask you to turn to Alliance News Network, he said quietly. Confused, the Solarian counselor showed a panel as it became clear as day. It showed a new anchor explaining the recent announcement. The system's alliance was going to war with the Geth. I like how you humans do politics. Make the other party give concessions to not do something and do it thing anyways, Rex laughed. Reminds me of Korgan politics. I don't think that is a good thing, Rex. Spiratus looked like he was one step away from blowing a gasket. Not that I would mind, Gurus added his own 2 cents. It had been a day since Izuku were formally inducted into the Spectre program and humanity's declaration of war. Izuku grumbled back, head down on the desk as he pushed away the offending data pad. Apparently someone forgot to mention the paperwork that went into being a Spectre. Poor man has been working all night filling out the forms until now. Tali herself occasionally poked him to make sure he wasn't dead as Ashley came back with a hot cup of coffee for him. After what happened with Minder and Eligium, Eden Prime was just the pin that broke the camel's back. You can't expect us and the Alliance to take this and move on. People on all of our colonies are demanding blood, said Caden. I don't know what a camel is or why a pin broke its back, but I think I get the memo. You had enough and started doing something about it, Gurus. Nodded. I think the Asari don't like it because their nature. With such long lives as there's rapid change is always going to be reacted badly, and war was always the most dangerous change. They're just bunch of whiny brats. The minute someone doesn't serve them their fruit cocktail they whine and complain and use their economy to fix it. What you really have to worry are the matriarchs. If it is true one of them is working with Saren, you have a problem. Those old coots are the ones with the money and resources to make your life a living hell, Rex warned. He wasn't wrong either. Tevos had brought him into a private to explain who Matriarch Benizia was. Apparently she was a big deal in Asari space and one of the more powerful matriarchs. Which meant that she the money and resources to fund a small nation have some left for a rainy day. Of course this led to another problem the council failed to realize until afterward. Saren did not need Spectre resources. Because who knew how long Saren has been working with the Geth, and if he really did have them under his command then he didn't need to worry about resources. But in the off chance he needed something, Benizia was able to get it for him. This of course prompted a lot issues Izuku did not want to get into right now. So what does it mean for us? Tali had to ask for the non-humans in the group. Sure, they all helped bringing Saren to justice, but what was after that? You could always come with us, Izuku offered. A skipper, is that even allowed? Ash asked. Well, I am a Spectre and Spectres have been known to hire additional help, so Izuku trailed off. So we're like mercs? Gris asked. People working for a common cause, Izuku corrected. Sure, why not? Saren is a traitor to my people and someone needs to put him down. Besides, you three look like you need someone who understands the finer point of investigative work plus a good sniper. Luckily I'm both, Gurus offered. Saren is going to have a whole army with him. What you need is a Krogan on your side, Rex barked. Yes, and said army is made of Geth. You need a Geth expert to deal with them, and last time I checked I was only one here that ripped data out of Geth core, said Tali as she swayed her hood. You're all hired. All of you have skills that I need if I am going after Saren, and I will be stupid to pick one. Izuku ended the offers. What is more important is getting you all the gear for it. If we are going to fight Saren, I want all of use ready at our best. Getting up, he headed to the once place he hadn't gone yet. CSEC Requisitions Office. XXX CSEC Requisitions Office XXX. Spectre Izuku, you're here. The requisition officer spoke aloud. You know how I am? It's hard to not know, sir. Your face is plastered on every advertisement here to the Terminus system. But I can assume you are here for the Spectre gear. Seeing Izuku nod his head, the officer motioned him to follow. The two made their way to a locked door where the officer punched in some codes in a blank screen as it opened to show what was inside. It was a massive room filled with monitors, cabals, a few other agents walking around. This is the Spectre office, and before we go any further you need to take this. The agent showed a syringe filled with a clear liquid, nanomachine transponders. With this the council keeps track of all their agent. Under normal circumstances you would have received a message sent on how to disable it. But with the whole Saren issue they are ordering all Spectres to have it on 24/7 or termination. Izuku rolled the sleeve of his shirt and injected it into him. It felt cool as the nanomachines entered his body. After that, the agent showed him small shop-like area where a small selection of guns were placed. All of them were colored black with dark blue highlights. These are HMW-type weapons. Highly advanced prototypes far ahead of what anyone else has. Normally they cost a fortune, but the Alliance is offering to pay for everything. Really? You're humanity's first Spectre, of course they want to make sure you're well-equipped one. Izuku conceded to the agent there, then I want the best you have. Each of every type and any Omni tools if you do. And can you do the same for the rest of my team? Sorry, Spectre gear is restricted to only you guys. Your nanomachines are linked to the weapons, so the minute you go dead or fall from your hands they lock up. If anyone tampers with the gun, literally melts itself inside out, said the agent as he brought various types of weapons and a few HMW Omni tools. I can however buy you Colossus-grade gear and other high-end weapons, with mods included. Do it. Izuku walked out as a very happy man as few but very expensive shipment of guns, armor, and mods went to the human embassies. He wondered what could make this day better. XXX Counselor Spiratus office XXX. He had to wonder why this day had to get so bad. Because it was not every day you get invited to the Turian counselor's office when said counselor was known for his anti-human bias and he was the first human Spectre. Entering into the man's office, the first he noted was that it wasn't Spartan. He always assumed it be bare with the basic needs, but it wasn't in this case. Not say it was lavish, but it certainly had some flair to it. It was mostly Turian art with a bit Solarian mixed in there. Commander, good that you made it, said Spiratus. And it is good to see you to counselor. I won't beat around the bush with you, Commander. I know your people don't have a found attachment to my people or me in that regard, however I feel that I should least inform of some basic necessities of being a Spectre. Namely having contacts, he said. What about contacts? Spectre status alone cannot get you into everywhere you need. In the Terminus systems you could show your Spectre credentials and nobody will bat an eye. Even here in Citadel space there are those who will not obey authority and carry legal power. Even using them can sometimes be more blunt than you wanted. Having people in the right places can make things much more smoother for you, Commander. Even now the other counselors are working to bring you to their side, Spiratus explained. And you aren't. Please, allying yourself to dead man is a very bad choice, Izuku. Don't give me that look, Commander. In Turian society, when one is accused of treason, then the one who approved of their position must pay the price. Saren only got to be a Spectre thanks to me, which means the crimes he committed also fall on my shoulder. Consider it the words of wisdom from a dead man. What do the other counselors want? Izuku felt a bit disgusted by what Spiratus explained. To punish others for the crime of one person felt extreme. Unless said other person assisted in the crime, there was no reason for him to take the blame. But not like he could go against Turian society. You're the first Spectre of your kind. The other counselors want to have you on their side. You represent humanity, Commander. If you were to support anyone, not just the counselors, it will be the equivalent of the Alliance supporting him. My advice is not to choose any of them. Find allies you can trust and never be in debt to anyone. That also includes the Alliance. Remember, your duty is to the galaxy, not just one species. Then who do you expect I should get? Curious to see what the counselor would say. Who knows, I can't say. That is up to you, however. I have heard a certain consort was looking for help. Maybe that will be a good spot. Then again, what do I know? I'm just a old Turian that will be death's row soon, said Spiratus. Izuku said nothing as he nodded to the counselor. Leaving his office, he had a cab take him to this consort as he pulled up her file and what the Spectre Network 2 had on her. The consort's name was Share, an Asari matron who is known to be very influential person in many circles. While she did offer services of pleasure, she also offered advice and was someone who listened and help you through your problems. So like a psychologist that offers SEC too. Regardless, her clients ranged from CEOs, generals, admirals, and ambassador. Hell, even Udina was on the list. However, there has been reports of nasty rumors surrounding her. Normally this shouldn't be a problem to someone like her, but these rumors have been persisting for some time and it has costed her customers. While she cared greatly for those under her care, she equally cared for her reputation as well. Once the cab landed, he made his way to the consort chambers where there was no line. Of course there were people, but he expected more would be waiting for their turn. Then again with the prices she was asking. "Hello, sir. Welcome to the consort's building. How may I help you?" the Asari greeter asked. "I'd like to schedule an appointment with Shari, please. I have something I wish to ask of her," said Izuku. "Of course, sir. I will have put in the system. Now the next point she will be opening will be 5 months from now." Oh, well, Izuku was not expecting that. 5 months. In that time he would be in who knows where hunting down Saren. "Are you sure we can't move it earlier? I am Commander Izuku, the first human Spectre." Surely she has some time to give, putting some false bravado into his tone. The Asari was stopped herself as she touched an earpieces. A few seconds later she nodded her head. "It seems you won't need an appointment, Commander. The consort will be seeing you now." Well, that turned out better than expected. Going to the consort chambers, he saw the Asari and was about to move closer before she spoke. "That is far enough, Commander. I understand that you wanted to see me. I heard that you were having problems of some nasty rumors. Well, I have some time before I start hunting Saren. Perhaps I can offer some aid for the right price." "And what would that be?" "I could always use some friends. I think you would be a good friend," said Izuku. "Perhaps that can work, Commander. The one spreading the rumors is General Septimius. He used to be client and a good friend. However, due to some disagreements he now bears a grudge against me. If you stop him from spreading the rumors, then I shall happily help you to the best of my ability." The Asari consort agreed. The Asari gave him the location where the retired general was as he headed out to meet with him. When he got there he was surprised to see it was Korra's den of all places. Walking into the pub you couldn't even tell that a fight even happened here. However, the guards looked considerably tensed when they saw him enter. Looking around, it wasn't hard to find the Aturian nursing a drink while watching an Asari dancer. One look at the picture the consort gave to him confirmed it. General Septimius sighed Izuku as he approached the Turian. "Commander Midoriya, now what brings you here to see me?" "I doubt it is for an autograph," said the retired general. "I've been hearing rumors that you have been slandering the name of a powerful consort, and I'm curious why so," said Izuku. "You are correct that I am. Don't look surprised, young man. It was a matter of time before Shari sent someone to confront me about it. That consort is nothing but a liar who tricks her clients with false promises and makes them give up their money for nothing." The man spat. "Hold on, why do you even hate the consort in the first place?" Now the N7 was curious. The Turian's tone sounded genuinely hurt by the women. Only thanks to his translators that he picked up on the Turian subvocals. At first he thought it would have been for money or forcing the consort to do him a favor, but it seems there is more going on here than he imagined. "What is there to know, Commander?" "Seems to be you're already under the consort's orders." He looked back to his drink. "Unless the consort is part of high command, I really don't care what she says, General. Besides, I'm a Spectre, so I doubt she would try anything on me." "You're right that she wanted me to stop you spreading rumors about her, but it is clear there is more to this than I thought," said Izuku. "Shari and I were once lovers. For a time it was nice before we started arguing. The women had such money, influence, and power, and yet she did nothing with it. Whenever I asked, she always said that everything was going as planned or something like that. But wherever I looked, whatever plan she had wasn't working. People were still starving, criminals were allowed to go free if they knew the right people, and for sprite's sakes tunnel rats were still a thing. I thought that Shari could fix that or make it better. With my connections to the hierarchy and her own connections, we could have done something good for this station. But she didn't want that, and whenever I tried to push back it never worked, so one day I just left. It was that day I learned the women I loved no doubt gain power through all the corruption." The general explained. "And where is the proof that her influence comes from ill gains? Why else would she do nothing in the face of corruption?" "It seems obvious to me," the general growled. "And maybe you had too many bottles. Look, it seems clear you two had a lot of disagreements and you may have been controlling too. But she has a life to General. It may not be what you want, but you have no right to demand anything from her. I don't know her side of the story that well and maybe need to find out later, but what you are doing is no better than what criminals already do. Using blackmail and rumors to ruin someone's life? Sounds pretty villainous to me," Izuku retorted. I doubt she would accept me back, the general whispered. Probably not. But you can still fix your relationship with her. So please, for the sake of yourself and her, stop with these rumors and try to talk it out with your lover, said Izuku. Will that even work? The man looked at Izuku with questioning eyes. You won't know until you tried it out. The general did not respond and after a while gave him a datapad showing the name of an Elcor ambassador. He explained the Elcor was someone that he lied to about the consort. Thanking the man, he quickly went to the embassies where he found the Elcor and explained the situation. The diplomat was shocked and explained that he needed to talk with the consort quickly as he left. Once that was done, he made his way back to the consort where the women just finished talking to someone as she turned to her. A grateful and relieved look on her face. Commander, I heard about Septimius and I must thank you for stopping the rumors, said he. That is good to hear. By the way, I wanted to ask if the general came by around here? I understand you two have a history together. I talked to the general about fixing it, asked Izuku. Yes, Septimius did in fact come by a while ago. I admit that the fire between us has waned over the years, but the man is trying his best to mend our relationship. I don't know if we will ever be what we once were, but like him, and I am willing to try again if he is. But enough about my life, Commander. You kept your promise and I shall keep my part. As long as it is within my power, I will do what I can to aid you in your journey. The consort walked up to Izuku as she grabbed his hand and placed a small orb in it. It is a small relic from my younger years. I've never been able to figure out what it is, but I feel that you may have a better chance than I did. Good luck, Commander, on your quest. When I am near you, I cannot help but see a journey of hardships awaiting. Hold close to your friends and forge a sisterhood or brotherhood through them. You will need it for the coming darkness. XXX Citadel Docks XXX. Captain Anderson, you wanted to see me? Izuku and his team were ordered to meet with Anderson at the docks where the Normandy was. I did. I won't mince any words, Commander. The Alliance is about to put itself through the toughest fight in modern-day history. Never has any nation declared war on the Geth and won. Look, the Quarians, for example. No offense, ma'am. None taken, said Tali, waving it away. And worst of all, Saren is at the helm of all this madness. That dreadnought of his commander, Alliance Command estimates its size is between 1.8 kilometers to 2 kilometers long, and that thing was able to land on orbit too. Anderson watched as everyone's eyes bulged out at the news. 2 kilometers. The Destiny Ascension was only 1.6 kilometers big, and it could go toe-to-toe with 3 dreadnoughts and come out victorious. How much power would such a ship that size even have? What was worse was that the ship landed on the surface of a planet. Any ship with a tonnage of cruiser and above would cause immense damage to the local area, and a big reason why you never see one landing a planet. Keyleth, its Mass Effect core must be humongous, Tali whispered in horror. Think of the shields on that thing. Gurus's mandibles tightened at the thought. You would need dozens of dreadnoughts or a lot of nukes to break the barriers. Which is why you need the best of the best ships we have and why I am transferring control of the Normandy to you. She's a good ship and can get anywhere you want to be, said Anderson. What? Anderson, I can't do that, sir. This is your ship. High Command choose you for a good reason, Izuku interrupted. Which has now changed, Commander. And before you say it, this was my choice. You and I both. Now you need a good ship and crew. The Normandy has both in spades. No other ship can get you in enemy lines and are before they know it. Trust me, Izuku, I wouldn't have chosen anyone else to take over the reins. You earned it, son, said the captain. Thank you, sir. But what about you? Izuku whispered. With the Normandy tested out, it won't be long till a new one is made, and with Minister Reem on Parliament's buttes, it won't be long till we get the biggest military budget in Alliance history. Both men smiled at the thought of the women. The Minister of Defense was a woman not to be trifled. With her loud and intimidating voice and uncompromising nature, there were few that wanted to argue with the women, and none of them were part of Parliament. Until then, soldier, good luck. You need it. Anderson offered his hand as the two shook their hands. As the ex-captain left the docks, Izuku looked at the ship before him as he took a deep breath and went inside. The first thing he noted as the attention directed at him. He was the captain now, not Anderson. They were all looking up to him to lead them. He ordered the rest of his team to find their rooms and make themselves comfortable as he made his way to the helm where Joker. I heard about what happened with Captain Anderson. Guy survives hundreds of battles and gets taken out by backdoor politics. Watch your back, Commander. If things get hairy, you may be on the chopping board next, Joker warned. I won't let Anderson down. Saren is out there and we need to stop him no matter what. Intercom is open, Commander. If you want to say anything, now is the time, Joker offered. This is Commander Izuku speaking. I know that all of you have been informed of what we are going up against. Eden Prime is only the beginning of Saren's madness. Whatever he is after, he have to stop him, not just for the people dead on Eden Prime, not for the countless lives lost in his mad quest, but for the entire galaxy. The entire galaxy is looking at us to end this threat, and no matter what happens, each and every one of you are heroes. No matter what people say, you were the first that stood their ground against Saren and his army of Geth. Izuku shut off the intercom as he heard others cheer out his name. Not bad, Commander. So where to next? Joker nodded his head. Us to the Rum, Joker. We have a Prothean expert to pick up. The Rum was a planet of volcanoes. One look at it and you would see it. Rivers and seas of magma made up the planet's surface, as the ground available was either superheated rock or barely stable ground for prefab buildings to be placed in. And this place was supposedly filled with Prothean ruins if you had the resources to find them. A perfect place for Prothean researcher. The only problem was that the ground team was not responding to the Normandy's hails. Once scanners showed Geth signatures, Izuku had the team assembled. The commander watched as his teammates all checked out their new gear, with the Alliance paying all cost. It was the highest-end armor, weapons, and mods money could buy. If they were going up against an army, better they had the gear for it. After his team made the last checks, he ordered them to load up on the Mako. The M35 Mako was the Alliance's newest generation of infantry vehicles. Capable of holding half a dozen men with room to spare, the vehicle came with a 155mm mass accelerator cannon and a coaxial-mounted machine gun. But what really made it stand out was its durability. The thing was built sturdier than a tank. You could fire rockets, throw into extreme weather planet conditions, anti-vehicle weapons, and so much more, and this thing would come out smelling like Daisy. It came with the latest armor, suspension gear, propulsion systems, and a massive array of sensors to let it see all manner of objectives before the driver had to worry. The only problem was that the Mako drove like a raging bull in heat. Finer control of the vehicle was lost due to its nature and was the reason all soldiers had to get gene mods that dealt with vehicle-related sickness and the nuesa of needing to roll the Mako over. As the Normandy reached atmospheric levels, he ordered Gurus to take the main cannon and Ashley the machine gun. Everyone else was ordered to get ready. The shuttle bay door opened as he slammed the accelerator. The Mako drove out of the ship and into the atmosphere, where the propulsion system kicked in and slowed down their descent to a nice bumpy landing. The doctor should be a few hundred meters away from you, Commander. I've pinned it on the NAV computer, said Presley on comms, and watch out for Geth dropships, Joker, while try to get their attention away from you guys. The Mako moved as the team made their way through the narrow paths, avoiding the rivers of lava as Geth dropships started to land. Gurus and Ashley wasted no time as the commander moved them into optimal position, making sure to dodge out of the way whenever the Geth returned fire. The team made short work of the Geth armatures. The only damage done was the stray pulse cannon fired at the rear of the Mako. With Tali and Caden working together, they repaired the damage as they moved along. The first real issue they had was the roadblocks in their way. At different points, small checkpoints were made by the locals here to check anyone before they moved further into the dig site, which was now overrun with Geth. The Geth sent in rocket and shock troopers to assist in stopping the commander and his team. It was here that the new members of his team started to prove themselves. Rex was a given. The age-old battlemaster proved his worth when he cleared an entire building of Geth. Single-handedly. Pieces of Geth were scattered around as the Krogan wiped off the coolant liquid off his armor. His biotics only made him more deadly, as it allowed him to throw his enemies into the air or away, rip their molecular structure, or create powerful barriers for them to hide behind. For Gurus, he knew that all Turians had to go through mandatory military service and had training in gun usage. What they didn't put in was that the Turian was a DMN good shot with a sniper. Izuku watched as the Turian took care of a few snipers up on the cliff faces in rapid order. It also helped Gurus was skilled in tech-based abilities, being able to overload the enemy's shields and weapons to make it easier for the team. Finally, Tali proved her worth to the team. It was without a doubt that the young Quarian had an unnatural knack with technology. The girl was able to break into the enemy systems and completely destroy their tech with almost practiced ease. Because it was not every day you saw Geth suddenly turning against each other, to break into the Geth network was no easy feat. They easily made way through the checkpoints and took care of the Geth that stood in their way until they reached a stopping point. The path forward had become too narrow for the Mako, and driving the Mako on top of the rocks could leave them open for further Geth attacks from below. He ordered the Normandy to pick up the Mako as the team went on foot. Along the way, more Geth got in their way as his team easily dealt with them. The real problem came when they reached the dig site. Looking around, the team found no traces of the research team save for a few specks of burnt remains near the living quarters. Izuku called in the Normandy to bring in a ground team to guard the area. What he got was static. "Normandy, I repeat, Normandy, can you hear me?" Izuku repeated. He got no answer from his comms. "Tali, Caden, can any of get a hold of the Normandy?" "No, looks like something is causing interference," said Tali. Before Izuku could ask, a roaring sound deafened everyone else as they looked up to see a Geth dropship coming inbound. As they got to cover, something white and fast dropped next to them. They barely got a look at it before Tali cried out, "Geth." The thing jumped away as their sensors started scrambling. If that wasn't bad enough, the dropship brought in the heavy guns. Or in this case, a Geth armature. "Take cover." Izuku hid behind a cement column as the armature's personal guards started firing at them. Gurus tried to shot one of them as the armature turned to him and fire a pulse round. It shattered the wall he was hiding as his HUD showed the Turian was fine, his armor absorbing the rest of the shock. Izuku had Ashley and Rex provide cover fire while Gurus moved to another position. He had Tali send out a sabotage to the armature's guards as their weapons suddenly flashed red and began venting out. Caden was then told to use his quirk and cause the guards to float up before being pushed into the lava nearby. With the guards taken care of, he focused his attention to the hopping Geth. Izuku only got a few glimpses of it. It was some kind of new model. Another sign of Geth evolution. This new Geth had a white chassis, however its body was more springly. He couldn't see any weapons unless this thing wasn't meant for combat or it was integrated. Both were not good options. The thing moved too fast for them to get a soldier shot at it, always hoping to one side to another, never staying in one place. It was until Rex finally got annoyed and used his biotics. The Geth hopper suddenly froze midair as he gunned the machine down. The few remaining hoppers were dealt with in the same manner as it left the armature alone. The machine had kept fire at them, but it was soon realized that the pulse cannon, while powerful, was no design to deal with infantry. Izuku, Caden, Tali, and Gris all used sabotage and overload programs to break through its shields. Even then, its thick armor made killing it difficult. It also didn't help their remaining covered was being blasted away at a rather fast pace. Pulling his HMW assault rifle, he fired away as it started overheating while ordering Ash and Rex, "Ash, Rex. Load carnage rounds now, aim at the neck." Both squadmates' guns began to glow hot red as warning signs appeared over their rifles as they blasted a single but very powerful round into the armature's neck. The machine's neck snapped backward for a second as they saw a tear in its neck. Izuku wasted no time and fired at it as the rest of his team followed suit. Within seconds, they saw sparks of coolant come out as it struggled to steady itself. He finished the armature off as he fired a cryoblast and then incendiary immediately after. The rapid changes in temperature caused the metal to expand and crack as what remained of its neck to snap as the machine finally fell down dead. With it, their comms had regained connection with the Normandy and it soon arrived and landed near the dig site. A platoon of Marines exited the ship as he ordered the platoon commander to keep anyone else from entering. He motioned his team to the entrance of the dig site, a massive that lead deeper into the planet's crust. He had Rex and Ash take the front. He, Caden, and Tali took middle. And Gurus covered them behind with his sniper. Moving into the tunnel, they made their way to the dig site and saw some Geth near a barrier. Pulling out his sniper, he zoomed in as he saw an Asari trapped, The women seemed to stuck midair behind the barrier as some Geth watched over her. "Gurus, you seeing this?" Izuku said over comms. "Odd behavior. It looks like they are trying to get her out," Gurus observed. "You think she is working with the Geth?" His files on the Asari Liara Tsoni matriarch, Benezia's daughter, told him that the two rarely held any conversations in recent years, and the last time they had a conversation was nearly 12 years ago. "Doesn't look like it. See the look in her eyes. That's a scared person if I saw one. Maybe her mother ordered the Geth to bring her in. I don't know for what reason, but nothing good," Gurus disagreed. "Rex, make some noise," the Krogan smiled as he activated his biotics. The Geth in front of the barrier were suddenly lifted upward. He clenched his fist as they slammed back to the ground with more force, shattering them in the process. Charging ahead, he created a barrier around himself as he floated downward and began attacking the Geth. Everyone else followed after the Krogan as they provided fire from above. But it was not needed as Rex quickly gave the all-clear. Apparently most of the Geth were huddled topside and they had finished off the remaining Geth in this area. Once they reached down, the team walked over the trapped Asari as she looked between scared and relieved. "Thank the goddess. Please tell me you're here to save me," she begged. "You're Liara Tsoni? My name is Commander Midoriya, Council Spectre," he introduced himself. "Spectre? And never mind. Please, you have to help me out of here. I've been trapped here for days, when the Geth started to attack. I ran in here for safety. These ruins have powerful barriers and I hoped I could hide here. I've must tripped an alarm because I've been trapped here," she begged. "Izuku ordered Tali and Caden to find anything. We will try to do our best, ma'am. But I want to ask some questions first. I assume you heard of the attack on Eden Prime." "Attack?" "Communication is hard to come by in Awaken Traverse, and this planet is far away from any local comm buoy," said Liara. "Well, that's suspicious. How in the world can anyone not know that a colony, a major one, was attacked recently and by the Geth of all things?" Gurus narrowed his eyes at Liara. I can get carried away in my work. Whenever I am focusing on something, I ignore everything around me until I am done," she said with embarrassment. Izuku looked over to Gurus. Not to say he believed her, but she understood her excuse. Back in his time, he used to ignore everything around him whenever heroes started fighting. Writing the battles and analyzing them took more precedence than anything else. Gurus seemed unsure. Not even Terminus was ignorant of what happened in Eden Prime. With the Alliance building up its military, everyone was on edge. For someone to not know should be ringing warning bells in even a rookie detective. Standard procedure dictated that Liara should be brought into custody and questioned. Then again, Gurus was never a by-the-books detective to begin with. Seems a little fishy. Her body posture doesn't show she is lying, and nor does she have any reason to. "It's your choice, Commander," Gurus answered. The commander reserved his answer as he went over to find Tali and Caden looking over a mining drill further down. Scans showed that the structure had considerably weakened over the eons and that a mining laser at its weakest points could blow a hole through it and allow the access into it. They warned it caused damage to the cave's integrity, but there wasn't many options left. Every second they waited meant more Geth could swarm in on their area, and last time he checked, no one on his ship had a quirk that could help them out here. He gave the go to the two as they started the mining laser. The machine hummed as it swirled near to the barrier and let loose a volley of energy into the ruins. The cave started to shake as the laser tore a hole into the ruins. His team made way into the ruins and found an elevator. He thanked the gods that even 50,000 years later the console still worked and accepted his inputs. It shuddered a bit, but it went up to Liara's level. "Dr. Tsoni, where is the control panel to get?" "You out? How did you never mind? Over there near where I am, there should be an option to turn off the status." Liara moved her head to where the panel was located. Going over, he soon found the commands as the doctor was freed from stasis. The Asari nearly rolled over as Gurus helped her up. "Thank you. I don't know how I can repay you all for saving. I thought I was going to die there." Liara shivered. "You thank us by explaining what you know of your mother. Matriarch Benezia is an accomplice of Sarin Arteries who lead the Geth to Eden Prime and a wanted fugitive by the Council and Systems Alliance," said Izuku. "Fugitive?" Liara gasped as she looked like someone just slapped her the face. You must be lying. My mother is a respected member of Galactic society, and the idea she would attack a colony and aid the death of all things is absurd. Have you checked the news? Tali asked. Liara shook her head, but seeing that they weren't letting up, she turned on her Omni tool. The rest of the team watched as the young Asari's face turned to shock, horror, and betrayal. I know, this must be some kind of mistake. My mother would never. The ground started to shake more as bits of rock started falling on them. The mining laser must have weakened the structures. This place may collapse. Everyone move. Everyone started running back to entrance as the entire cave started to collapse around them. They ran for their lives as Izuku slowed down a bit, for he could make sure everyone else made all out. Seeing that Liara was stumbling behind, he grabbed her bridle style and ran as fast as he could to the exit. He and Liara were the last ones out as they heard the tunnel collapse as it tore apart and became submerged in rock and lava. Are you all right, Dr. Tsoni? Yes, I think. Another soldier came by, helped take Liara back to the Normandy. Before he did, the soldier informed him that the platoon leader wanted to inform him of something. Going to the platoon leader, he was given the sight of seeing a Krogan bound by another soldier, whose arm was transformed into a mass of tentacles, as well Rex glaring at the new Krogan. Anyone want to explain this to me? Commander, the platoon leader saluted. When your team was in the tunnels, a Geth dropship tried to come by. The Normandy shot it out as it crashed nearby, and in the wreckage my men found this Krogan. We were lucky it was still disoriented as my men captured him. We've been applying regular dose of electricity to him. Your Krogan friend seems to know him, I think. Rex. He called to the battle master. Midoriya. And to answer your question, yes and no. I know which clan he is from, but I don't know anything about him. My advice is to chuck him into the lava, Rex spoke. You sure we can't get anything info from him? Maybe if the price is right, but I doubt Saren or Benizia gave more info than finding the doctor and leaving her at a designated site. Trust me when I say interrogating a Krogan doesn't end well for other species, Rex advised. Sergeant, send this Krogan to the brig. We'll let Alliance intelligence play with him, Izuku ordered. We're leaving this planet, folks. XXX Normandy XXX. Hey Commander, next time try to avoid going into an active volcano. We haven't tested the ship for being lava-proof yet, said Joker. Your pilot is making jokes after we nearly burned or been buried to death? Asked Liara. I think he earned a few jokes for getting us out before things got bad, said Izuku. However, I want to know how you are feeling, Doctor. I understand that learning what your mother has done would be hard to stomach. Please call me Liara. As for my mother, I admit I am still trying to wrap my head around it. I know my mother, and she would never do or help someone go this far. Please understand that my mother is some that will always advocate peace and cooperation. To see how far she has fallen from her beliefs, I want to come with you. I need to see with my own eyes what she has become, Lyra begged. I don't know about that, Commander. Bringing civvies into a firefight seems dangerous, Ashley warned. I can assure you that I can take of myself just fine. The Attican Traverse is filled with pirates, and all members are required to learn how to handle a firearm in the worst-case scenario. Besides, I also have my biotics that I've been trained since birth to use them, and I can assure I won't be a burden on the team, Liara argued. We could always use another biotic on the team, Caden offered. I don't know, sir. If we are bringing on the team, someone should at least training her. I will feel a lot safer if she knew how to use a gun. Properly, that is, said Ashley. I assure I can use a firearm very well, but more training isn't something I oppose, said Liara. Regardless, I need to inform the Council and the Alliance first. Lara, go to Dr. Chukwa's before anything else. Everyone else, you're dismissed. Once everyone had left the meeting room, he ordered Joker to call the Council. Through the ship's QEC systems. Minutes later, the counselors appeared on screen. Counselors, Dr. Liara Tsoni is under our custody, and it seems that she is oblivious to the actions of her mother. Furthermore, we believe Benizia sent Geth to capture her for some reason, Izuku stated. Worrying, are you sure that Dr. Tsoni is telling the truth, Commander? The Solarian counselor asked. She could, but her body language is telling me otherwise. She seemed genuinely distressed when learning of her mother's crimes. Right now I plan to take her to Arcturus Station. If she isn't working with Saren, I will be taking her with me. I could use a Prothean expert. Whatever Saren is looking must be related to them, said Izuku. Very well. Commander, we have also done our own investigations into Saren and Benezia's investments, and well, they are discerning to say the least. Discerning is putting it mildly. It's a spirits diamond conspiracy. Most of their funds have been liquidated and sent through various shell companies that are funding even more shell companies. Every layer we tear out, an even more horrid one is waiting for us. It seems both of them had been planning this far longer than we had expected. All available Spectres have been ordered to dig up what Saren and Benezia are hiding. Spiritus hissed. At the moment there is nothing else we can provide for now. We have forwarded files on Saren and Benezia to help in your investigations, but outside of that you will be on your own until we find any clues. Good luck, Commander, said Tevos as his Omni-tool pinged.